Chapter 770. Seeing that Tang Zhang was silent, the king continued to add, "Since you have such a strong influence in Europe, no one will dare to touch you. I heard that many people in Wuxia are also hostile to you." Tang Zheng's eyelids twitched. The other party's preparation was indeed sufficient. He even thought of this point. Tang Zhang did not hesitate to leave behind Mount Wujuan and the witch tribe. One of the biggest uses was to restrain the officials and make them wary. He, Tang Zheng, was not alone. He had a large group of brothers under him. In ancient times, it was often a taboo to have an army for oneself. However, if one had enough soldiers, it was not a taboo, but a deterrent and protective talisman. Moreover, your company will be unimpeded in Europe. This is a very large market. The king continued to throw out the bait. Seeing that Tang Zhang was unmoved, the king could not help but feel anxious. Could it be that his weight was not heavy enough? His mind spun rapidly. Although he was calm and collected, talking cheerfully and wittily, he was actually very anxious in his heart. He had been looking forward to the appearance of a hero like Tang Zheng for a long time. Now that the hero was in front of him, how could he just let him go? As the saying goes, a soldier who does not want to be a general is not a good soldier. He was not a good soldier, but he was a good king. He wanted to improve his country's influence and status in Europe and even the world. His territory was not large, but his ambition was not small. If he could achieve this, then he would leave his name in history. As a king, perhaps this was the only thing that was attractive enough. The king gritted his teeth and said, "I have heard of the rumors about you and Anne, and is the most famous princess in Europe. Many people admire her. I think you are the same. If you agree, I will not pursue the matter between you and your girlfriend. I know that Wuxia has many traditions, including polygamy. I respect your customs." Tang Zhang smacked his lips and almost bit his tongue off. He had really put in a lot of effort to make such a tempting offer. If it was someone else, they would definitely agree without hesitation. Being able to marry the princess of a country was something that many people dreamed of. It was simply like smoke rising from one's ancestral grave. However, Tang Zhang did not have any improper thoughts about Princess Anne. Although Princess Anne was beautiful, there was always a distance between them. When it came to liking someone, appearance was only one of the reasons, but it wasn't the deciding factor. The National Security Agency had endured the pain of using his daughter as a bargaining chip. It could be seen how desperate his thoughts were. Tang Zheng felt a little sad. In ancient times, princesses were often married off to seek peace. Although hundreds and thousands of years had passed, some things had not changed, even in the West, which had always boasted of freedom and democracy. Tang Zheng was not angry. He just felt that under Princess Anne's glamorous appearance, there was actually a lot of unhappiness and bitterness. She was not much different from an ordinary person. At this point, the halo above Princess Anne's head gradually dissipated in Tang Zheng's eyes. He couldn't help but feel that Princess Anne was also amiable. That sense of distance had disappeared without a trace. Tang Zheng knew that Princess Anne had always wanted to improve their relationship, but he had always turned a blind eye. Now, he couldn't help but feel pity for her. In the future, he would treat her better and at least treat her as a friend. The king stared at Tang Zheng. He thought to himself, "I've already lowered myself so much. Are you still not satisfied?" He almost couldn't help but blurt out and directly ask Tang Zheng to state the conditions. Tang Zheng finally opened his mouth. He said neither too fast nor too slow, "Your Majesty, I don't have any improper thoughts about Anne, but I will also agree to this matter." The king was overjoyed, but in his heart, he secretly thought that he must be too embarrassed to admit it. This kind of thing should be understood tacitly. It was indeed too impulsive to say it directly. He nodded towards Tang Zheng with a smile that said, "I know what you're thinking." He stretched out his hand and said, "Then I wish us a happy cooperation." A happy cooperation. Tang Zheng gently shook his hand. "But this matter is too dangerous. I can't just take the risk and you guys can just sit back and reap the benefits. You guys should at least contribute a little, right? Of course, I have secretly contacted the kings of several countries. They have secretly come to Sweden. I will introduce them to you and discuss the specific details." Tang Zheng said that he was well prepared. He had actually contacted other countries as if he was sure that he would agree. Tang Zheng did not refuse. Next, it was time to negotiate the conditions. He would fight for enough etiquette for himself. The king seemed to be a person who firmly believed in striking while the iron was hot, so he arranged a meeting that night. Although the people in front of him were the rulers of a country that many people admired, in Tang Zheng's eyes, they had already shed their halo and become ordinary people, business partners, negotiation targets. Thus, he did not show any mercy and argued with them. In the end, he won a lot of benefits. In the future, when he truly attacked the Rockefeller family, these countries would have to support him. This support was not in the form of military strength, but in the form of economic support. They would fiercely attack the Rockefeller family's industries and seize the Rockefeller family's benefits. Naturally, these benefits would belong to Tang Zheng, and these countries would not be able to touch them. Although it was a little painful, when they thought about how their national strength would rapidly rise without the suppression of the Rockefeller family in the future, this sacrifice was worth it. At the same time, these countries would also attack the Atlantic Empire in the financial market. The most painful thing for a country was the virtual financial market. It would cause a shock in various industries and even shake the foundation of the country. According to the plan, Tang Zheng's company would send people to open up business in Europe to prepare to take over the Rockefeller family's industries in the future. This spoil of war would be huge. It should be known that the Rockefeller family had been in business for hundreds of years, involved in various industries, and was the leader in many of them. Once he took over these, Tang Zheng's industries would rapidly rise. Although it would not reach the current state of the Rockefeller family, in time, it would definitely surpass them. At that time, it would be difficult to resist even if the several major families in Wuxia were to join forces. His business empire would truly take shape. Feng Shishir was obviously not as good as Tang Zheng. Although the queen and princess were very friendly on the surface, the queen still had some hostility towards her. Feng Shishir, who was sensitive, was smart enough to feel it, but she could not do anything about it. She could only force a smile. In the dead of night, Tang Zheng and Feng Shishir were arranged in two separate rooms. Obviously, they were not in the same room as Tang Zheng wanted. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, and he did not have the opportunity to talk to Feng Shishir. However, they obviously did not expect Tang Zheng to be so daring. He actually climbed over the wall, climbed through the window, and sneaked into Feng Shishir's room. When Feng Shishir saw the person who climbed in through the window, she almost made a move. However, after seeing the person's face clearly, she was shocked and opened her mouth wide. "You! How did you climb in?" Tang Zheng laughed. "I missed you." The two had not seen each other for several months. The process of their previous meeting could not be said to be wonderful. They had narrowly escaped death. Now that they were finally free, the strong feelings could not help but hit their hearts. Tang Zheng did not care about the rules. No rules could stop him from seeing Feng Shishir and complaining about the pain of lovesickness. He could not help but criticize His Majesty. Knowing that Feng Shishir was his girlfriend, he still insisted on arranging two rooms for them. This was blatantly destroying his happiness. After hearing this, Feng Shishir's words of reproach immediately disappeared. Only tenderness was left. She hugged him and said coquettishly, "I missed you too." As the saying goes, absence makes the heart grow fonder. The two of them were originally passionate young men and women. When dry wood met a raging fire, it was easy to ignite. In a short while, the room was filled with sounds that made one blush. Fortunately, the room was soundproof, so there was no need to worry about the walls having ears. Because of this, the two of them were very immersed. They even unlocked many new moves, making the two of them feel as if their bodies and minds were floating on top of the clouds. Huff, huff. The two heavily gasped for breath before Tang Zheng flipped over and laid down flat on the ground. Feng Shishir was lying on his chest, her full breasts pressing against his chest, causing ripples in one's heart. He once again began to feel restless. Feng Shishir glanced at his lower body. Her face was as red as blood. She pretended to slap him and said, "Beat this dishonest guy. Hey, what if you break it?" Tang Zheng hurriedly stopped her. "It's best if you break it. Then you won't attract bees and butterflies." Feng Shishir said coquettishly. Tang Zheng laughed. "If you break it, I won't be able to serve you. How can you bear to do that?" "It would be strange if I didn't." Tang Zheng grabbed her hand and held her in his arms. "Don't move. Otherwise you will really suffer. Be honest." Feng Shishir didn't dare to move again. She was deeply afraid that he would become lively again. She said sourly, "Princess An has a special liking for you." Tang Zheng righteously said, "I don't have any thoughts about it." "Humph, I'm not afraid of thieves stealing, but I'm afraid of thieves remembering. Moreover, there are so many close female friends in the country." Hearing this, Tang Zheng couldn't help but think of Yi Dingdang. He said, "Dingdang has left." Feng Shishir knew very well about the matter between Tang Zheng and Yi Dingdang. Back then, Yi Dingdang's parents tried their best to matchmake the two of them, but in the end, she still won the first prize. She was happy for a long time. Later, she also chose to turn a blind eye to the ambiguous relationship between Tang Zheng and Yi Dingdang. This was her philosophy. She wasn't as tough as Yi Dingdang. Her personality was more of a delicate woman's mentality. She liked Tang Zheng, and Tang Zheng also liked her. He even risked his life to save her. In this world, how many men could do this? She felt that this was her luck. Why should she ask for so much? This year of studying and living independently made her think through many things. Love wasn't just about possessing, but more about giving. Tang Zheng gave so much, but how much did she give? Therefore, even though she knew about Tang Zheng's romantic past, she still didn't leave him. Especially after experiencing this matter, she knew that she couldn't leave him in this lifetime. Chapter 771. Feng Shishir sensed Tang Zheng's gloomy mood. She gently stroked his chest and said emotionally, "I will never leave you." Tang Zheng's emotions fluctuated as he hugged her even tighter. He wanted nothing more than to rub her into his body. He promised, "I will never leave you either. I will always protect you." Feng Shishir gazed deeply into his eyes and nodded. "I believe you." Warm as spring, silky and delicate feelings lingered in each other's hearts. After a long time, they slightly calmed down. Tang Zheng asked, "Shishir, you wore the golden jade purple robe, but those people still caught you and even hurt you. It seems that a mere defensive transcendent artifact is not enough to protect you." Feng Shishir's expression darkened. This was a cruel reality. She forced a smile and said, "Transcendent artifacts are hard to find in this world. This is something that can't be helped." "That may not be so." Tang Zheng smiled mysteriously. A rainbow light suddenly appeared in the center of his palm. This rainbow light floated up and illuminated the entire room. Wah! Feng Shishir opened her mouth wide. She had never seen such a brilliant scene in her life. It was like a rainbow, but more beautiful and mysterious than a rainbow. A ribbon floated in the air, giving her the urge to grab it. "This rainbow ribbon is for you." "For really?" Feng Shishir could not believe it. She could clearly feel the powerful energy contained in it. This was a rare high-grade transcendent artifact. "This is a heaven-grade transcendent artifact. It is as if it was specially made for you. I specially prepared this gift for you." This was one of the 3 transcendent artifacts that Tang Zheng took out from the 3rd floor of the Langya Pavilion. They were the clear wind sword, the sacred armor shield, and the rainbow ribbon. The clear wind sword had already been gifted to Yi Dingdang. The clear wind sword was very compatible with the wind-chasing swordsmanship. The sacred armor shield was an oracle bone, a heaven-grade defensive transcendent artifact. Tang Zheng kept it for his own use. However, he had no use for it at the moment. When he was fighting with Qin Shi Huang in the mausoleum, Qin Shi Huang's strength was too strong, and he couldn't resist at all. The holy armor shield couldn't change the situation. In Rockefeller's castle, he had successfully escaped without using the holy armor shield. Therefore, this heaven-grade defensive magic treasure was still in the idle stage. However, the rainbow ribbon finally welcomed its new owner. Feng Shishir was overjoyed. She kissed Tang Zheng and said sweetly, "You're too good to me. Let's bind it with blood first." Feng Shishir channeled her energy and forced out a drop of essence blood from her finger. It fell on the 7-colored silk. The 7-colored silk shone brightly, making it hard for people to open their eyes. "Collect!" Feng Shishir shouted, and the 7-colored light instantly converged. The 7-colored silk wrapped around her waist, and with a flash of light, it turned into a beautiful belt. "Wow, that's great!" Feng Shishir was so excited that she danced with joy. Tang Zheng also smiled. Seeing her so happy made him happier than if he had obtained a heaven-grade magic treasure. Making his woman happy was the duty of any true man. In Princess N's bedroom, Two people were lying on the soft bed. And the queen, the mother and daughter pair were confiding in each other. "And you never told me that Tang Zhang has a girlfriend?" the queen asked with a straight face. And slyly blinked and said, "You didn't ask me either." The queen was angry, but with her magnanimous nature, she couldn't scold her. She could only earnestly say, "You are the princess. Could it be that you have to tolerate him having other women?" And shrugged and said, "Is there a lack of dirty things in the royal family of each country? How many people secretly have lovers? Mother, you should know, right?" The queen was speechless. In any country, the most chaotic was the royal family. Don't look at the dignified appearance, but the dirty things in the dock were hard to imagine. The queen had been influenced by what she saw and heard over the years. "But this is too much for you," the queen said with heartache. "Actually, I don't know if I like him or not. At most I have a good impression of him." Anne's eyes were filled with a complicated expression as she said faintly, "If you don't like him, then stop in time." The queen was overjoyed. "But I like to stay with him. It's especially exciting and never monotonous. Moreover, it gives me a sense of security." Princess Anne's eyes were filled with little stars. Huff, huff. The queen gasped for breath. She was obviously angry and said, "You are wrong, do you know that?" And shrugged and said, "Is that so? Who knows how many mistakes a person makes in their life? You have taught me since I was young to be cautious and avoid making mistakes. But I really want to make a mistake once and see how it feels." The queen looked as if she didn't recognize her daughter. She stared straight at her and said, "You will regret it." "That's not necessarily true." Anne's eyes were firm. The next day, Tang Zhang walked out of his room and smiled at Feng Shishir, who opened the door next door. Feng Shishir's face was red as she glared at him. "You're up." Anne and the queen happened to walk in and saw the two exchanging glances, and pretended not to see, but the queen looked at Feng Shishir. Her face was flushed and her skin was smooth and delicate. It was very different from yesterday. As someone who had experienced it before, the queen could tell at a glance that Feng Shishir was nourished and the result of a balance of yin and yang. The two of them clearly slept in separate rooms. Could it be that they secretly slept together last night? Ridiculous, ridiculous. How could such a thing happen in the Swedish palace right under their noses? The queen's breathing couldn't help but quicken a bit, but she was very restrained and didn't flip out. Instead, she gave Tang Zheng a deep look. Without a doubt, this kind of lustful matter was definitely his doing. "I'll take you out for a tour today." And warmly invited. Since the business was done, Tang Zheng didn't intend to stay any longer. After all, there were still many things to do in the country. He couldn't contact Tian Chanzi and didn't know what happened in the east that made him so uneasy. "Thank you for your kindness, but I'm preparing to return to my country." Tang Zheng tactfully refused. "Return to your country?" The queen was very surprised, especially when Tang Zheng refused her daughter's kindness. This made her quite unhappy. There was no man in the world who had the heart to refuse Anne. Without a doubt, Tang Zheng was the first. The queen was about to sternly refute, but Anne beat her to it. "Okay, school is busy, and I have to go back quickly. I can't stay any longer. Mother, we'll leave later. I'll miss you." And gave the queen a big hug. The queen's anger was suppressed in her chest, and she had nowhere to vent it. As an elegant queen, she wouldn't reprimand the man her daughter liked in front of her daughter, even if the man made her very unhappy. This was her basic quality. Thousands of words turned into one sentence. "Mother will miss you even more." After breakfast, Tang Zheng was called by the king to the study for a long time. This time, the focus was on the master-disciple relationship between Anne and Tian Chanzi. Obviously, the king already knew about this strange master-disciple relationship, but he was happy to see it. He had learned from many channels that Tian Chanzi was a very powerful cultivator. His daughter had become a cultivator, so in the future, the royal family could also become cultivators. Why could the Rockefeller family run rampant and no one dared to provoke them? That was because of their unique physique and strong strength. He was stronger than other families and even the European royal family, so he could be so arrogant and suppress them fiercely. The European royal family had never found a way to enhance their own strength. Wuxia's martial arts were of course powerful, but in fact, she kept it to herself and didn't teach it to outsiders. Not to mention these foreigners, Even if they tried their best to learn, they only learned a little. But now it was different. A new broad road was in front of the king. He had heard of Tang Zheng's strength, and he was a real master. If his daughter practiced it, then in the future, she could also teach the skills of cultivation to the royal family. The royal family was powerful and could be superior to other countries. Once the Rockefeller family fell, the Swedish royal family could quickly rise and suppress the other heroes. Just imagining that scene made the king extremely excited. Therefore, before leaving, he specially asked Tang Zheng to take care of and also prepared a big gift for him and Tian Chanzi. 2 special gift boxes made of unknown materials. Tang Zheng knew that the Western people were used to opening gift boxes in front of the host. He was also very curious about what kind of gift the king of a country would give. With his identity, he shouldn't be able to take out ordinary things. Eating and taking was Tang Zheng's favorite thing to do. He solemnly opened the box, and inside the 2 boxes laid a fist-sized shiny object that looked like a crystal. "What are these?" Tang Zheng asked, puzzled. Were they just 2 big crystals? That was a bit too shabby. Crystals weren't worth much. As if he could see his disappointment, the king hurriedly introduced as if he was presenting a treasure. These 2 crystals were found in a meteorite impact 100 years ago. According to our investigation, they contain a powerful energy, but we have no way to extract it. I thought that since you practitioners are so powerful, giving pearls to heroes, maybe you have a way. Crystals? Tang Zheng was full of doubts. There were too many uncertainties in the things found in meteorites. Maybe it was a waste stone that was useless on other planets, or it could contain treasures, elements that didn't exist on Earth. By examining and processing this kind of meteorite, many things could be made, such as weapons. Many famous knives and swords in ancient times were made of meteorite iron contained in meteorites. They could cut iron like mud and cut hair. They were the favorite of swordsmen. Was there energy in it? Tang Zheng was skeptical, but he casually grabbed a crystal. Whoosh! Tang Zheng's breathing quickened involuntarily. He opened his eyes wide and looked at the crystal in his palm in disbelief. His genuine qi was running on its own. A stream of energy was transferred from the crystal to his palm and flowed to his 8 extraordinary meridians. This energy was very pure, without a trace of impurities. It was even purer than the spirit stones he used before. Although it was only a small piece, the energy contained in it was immeasurable. How could ordinary pearls and gems compare to this? This was a priceless treasure. Chapter 772. Crystal stones were a higher-level existence than spirit stones. It was a cultivation treasure that cultivators yearned for even in their dreams. However, there were very few of them in the world, and they could only be found in some meteorites. Although Tang Zheng did not know this point, he could already confirm that crystal stones were very important to his future cultivation. He happily put away the gift box and said, "Thank you, Your Majesty." Looking at Tang Zheng's reaction, the king knew that this gift was the right one. He secretly thought that the remaining crystal stones would definitely be of great use to and in the future. Then I will leave and in your care in the future. Send my regards to Tian Chanzi, the king said with a smile. Tang Zheng, Feng Shishir, and Annie took a private jet to leave Sweden and return home. They landed at the Beijing International Airport, and without the entourage of attendants, they returned to the city in a light car. And looked at Tang Zheng and asked, "Tang Zheng, you must have found a new place to live, right?" Tang Zheng was speechless. A woman's mind was very meticulous. Seeing that he had not returned to his original home for a long time, she actually guessed this point. He could not deny it and could only nod his head. "Then can I go and take a look?" And looked at him with her big sparkling eyes. He could not refuse and could only nod his head. She when they arrived at the villa, and covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Wow, so you are living in such a luxurious place. No wonder you did not return to your previous home." Tang Zheng was speechless and rolled his eyes. Compared to her family's palace, this was a world of difference. Just as they entered the house, Nana flew down from upstairs. She jumped into Tang Zheng's arms and happily shouted, "Brother, you are finally back." Tang Zheng patted her back and said, "Yes, I missed Nana, so I came back." "I miss you too." Nana pouted and looked at her with her big black eyes. Empyrean Fairy and Marshall also walked down the stairs. Empyrean Fairy glanced at Tang Zheng indifferently, and then focused all of her attention on Nana. The other 2 beauties did not attract her attention at all. When Wu saw Tang Zhang, she was a little excited, but when she saw Feng Shishir, her expression became a little awkward. Feng Shishir recognized Marshall, so he was not surprised, but towards the Empyrean fairy, he could not help but take a few more glances. Although the Empyrean fairy had deliberately concealed her charm, she was still extremely beautiful. And was dumbfounded. She exclaimed, "Wow, Wuxia has an idiom. A golden house hides a mistress." Yes, this is what it means to keep a mistress in a golden house. Tang Zhang almost spat out a mouthful of blood. How can you fan the flames like this? Do you think it's not chaotic enough? Feng Shishir's expression remained the same, as if he did not hear those words. Tang Zhang hurriedly introduced both parties, changing the topic. They all live here, and the rooms are also like this. I also want to choose one. I don't want to go back and live in that empty house alone. And was not polite at all. She directly said and ran upstairs to choose a room. Tang Zhang had no choice but to give up. Sure, go and choose a room. Tang Zhang said. I'll take her. Marshall took the initiative to say. Feng Shishir smiled faintly at her and thanked her before the two of them went upstairs. As for the Empyrean fairy, she directly sat on the sofa and said without batting an eyelid, "Something seems to have happened in the east." Tang Zhang was stunned and asked, "You know about it too?" "I have a feeling, but I am still unable to determine what it is." Empyrean fairy had been wholeheartedly teaching her disciple Nana during this period of time. She was not distracted at all and the matters of the outside world could not disturb her. Tang Zhang was puzzled. Not only did Tian Chanzi have feelings for him, but even Empyrean fairy was no exception. This was not an illusion, but something big had happened. But what could it be? Tian Chanzi could not be contacted, so he had no way of knowing. His heart felt like it was being pressed down by a stone. He felt uneasy and decided to give Su Yingtian a call to see if he had any information. Su Yingtian's voice was somewhat tired. After returning from Heaven Mountain, he had arrested so many terrorists. During this period of time, he had been so busy that his feet did not touch the ground. Of course, these achievements had greatly increased the chief's impression of him. The negative impression of him had gradually been made up. When he heard Tang Zhang's voice, his tone returned to normal. He said, "Congratulations on successfully rescuing Miss Fang." Tang Zhang hurriedly thanked him. If he had not ordered Ding Liang to fully cooperate with him, he would not have been able to achieve such a victory. Last time, I said that something big had happened in the east. Do you have any news? I was just about to contact you. I just received the news not long ago. Something happened in the island nation. Many people died, and there was a strange phenomenon in the sky. This matter was kept secret very well. The people did not know at all. I also paid a huge price to obtain this information. Tang Zhang was silent. The deaths of many people and the strange phenomenon in the sky made his heart thump. His mood sank to the bottom. Wouldn't this be the case when the Mountain River Blood Sacrifice Array was activated? Could it be that someone had activated the Mountain River Blood Sacrifice Array in the island nation? If that was the case, this person had to be the Hundred Faces Star-Lord. Tang Zhang had always been wary of the Hundred Faces Star-Lord activating this array in the country. He did not expect that he would not do this at all. Instead, he went to the island nation. The island nation was adjacent to Wuxia. The spiritual energy was not too thin, especially when the Tree of Life was gradually improving the spiritual energy in the world. This caused the spiritual energy in the island nation to become even denser. This was something that Tang Zhang had personally experienced in the island nation the last time. There were restrictions to activating the Mountain River Blood Sacrifice Array and summoning the demons back. It had to be near Wuxia, a place with abundant spiritual energy. Otherwise, the array would not be successfully activated. If it were not for this restriction, the Rockefeller family would not have traveled thousands of miles and risked exposure to activate this array in Heavenly Mountain. The Hundred Faces Star-Lord was obviously smarter than the Rockefeller family and knew more about the secrets. Therefore, he took a step back and completed this operation in the island nation. Moreover, more people died in the sacrifice because, after all, it was in the island nation and not Wuxia. In order to maximize the effect, the Hundred Faces Star-Lord did not hesitate to sacrifice several times more people. Although Tang Zhang was unwilling to admit it, he knew that his worries were probably true. The demons had returned to this world. The thing that he had always wanted to stop had happened. A strong sense of frustration hit him, causing him to lie on the sofa in defeat. Nana sensed his depression and crawled over. She asked with concern, "Brother, what's wrong?" Tang Zheng took a deep breath and shook his head weakly. "Tang Zheng, what's wrong?" Su Yingtian also sensed that something was wrong and quickly asked. "Director Su, I'm afraid that what we have always wanted to stop has failed in the end. The demons have returned." "Ah!" Su Yingtian let out a scream. With a thud, the phone fell to the ground. He quickly picked it up and asked breathlessly, "Are you sure?" "I'm pretty sure. Could it be that someone in the island nation has activated the Mountain River Blood Sacrifice Array?" "Yes, and this must be done by the 100 Faces Star Lord." Su Yingtian's breathing was like a bellows. He could not calm down for a long time. Finally, he asked helplessly, "Then what should we do?" "Make all the preparations. The demons have returned. This world is going to be in chaos." Tang Zheng said weakly. "I'll immediately report to the director." Su Yingtian did not have time to say more and quickly hung up the phone. Tang Zheng closed his eyes and sank into the sofa. His brain was spinning rapidly. The demons had returned. How should he deal with them? With his cultivation, he was afraid that there was no way to deal with them. Although he was already a second-grade golden core, the demons had more masters and greater destructive power. With his own strength, it was like a mantis trying to stop a car. Do I really have to rebuild the stairway to heaven and let all the practitioners in the human realm beyond heaven return to resist the demons' attack? But my cultivation has not reached the level to break the restriction of the Imperial City and release the 5-clawed golden dragon. How can I take out the dark stone of heaven and earth under the Imperial City? He shook his head violently and was very confused. Empyrean Fairy looked at him curiously and said, "What happened? I heard you say that the demons have returned. Are the demons in the human realm beyond heaven coming back?" Empyrean Fairy already knew the details of the expulsion of the practitioners to the human realm beyond heaven hundreds of years ago. Tang Zheng let out a long sigh and said, "Yes. Then what's the trouble? They were originally people of this world." Empyrean Fairy did not take it seriously. The demons have existed in this world for thousands of years. What's the fuss about their return? Tang Zheng shook his head. "It's not what you think. The demons are cruel by nature. Once they return, the people in this world will suffer." Empyrean Fairy looked at him strangely and said, "You and Qin Shi Huang are both Skywalkers, but there is a big difference between the two of you. He will never be troubled like you. The lives of ordinary people are like ants in his eyes. He will never care about their lives. He is the emperor of all ages. I am just an ordinary person. I can't be like him." Tang Zheng smiled bitterly. "Then what are you going to do?" Empyrean Fairy asked curiously. Tang Zheng shook his head. "I have not thought of a way yet. I can only wait and see." Tian Chanzi went to the island nation. Let's wait for his news. Since the demons had returned, Tang Zheng could not leave Wuxia. What if the demons returned and the people around him were harmed? The most important thing now was to figure out the movements of the demons after they returned. Were they still in the island nation, or had they already snuck back to Wuxia, and what their goal was? However, the necessary preparations could still be done. Lu Qingmei was still on a business trip, so he had to return to the capital as soon as possible. He was more at ease with his own woman by his side, so that he could protect them to the greatest extent. As for his grandfather, Tang Zheng had already made plans for Yi Yuan to bring him and the rest of the witch clan, including the elders of the witch clan who were overseas, to the island. That was his final base camp. The island was safer than the mainland. Chapter 773. The excuse that Tang Zheng had prepared did not come in handy. The old man was very reasonable and casually agreed. In fact, as long as it was Tang Zheng's decision, the old man would generally not oppose it. He knew that he could not drag his grandson down. Since his grandson did this, then there must be a reason. He would just do as he was told. Seeing that the old man was so reasonable, Tang Zheng was moved, and thought of something else. The Empyrean Fairy had once said that the life-prolonging pill only had one effect in a person's life, which meant that his grandfather still had 9 years of life left. Tang Zheng was gloomy. He decided that the next time they met, he would definitely teach his grandfather the cultivation method. Although it was a bit late for him, It would still improve his physique and have the effect of prolonging his life. Then, he contacted Yi Yuan, the Witch Clan elder, and Wu Junshan respectively, explaining the seriousness of the situation in detail. He ordered the three of them to meet up and move everyone to the island, as well as guard against any possible dangers. They also felt the seriousness of their attitude, and their tones were heavy. After explaining all this, Tang Zhang called Lu Qingmei. Lu Qingmei's voice had a trace of experience. In the past, she was an ice beauty, but after meeting Tang Zhang, her ice mountain melted. Even the way she treated people and things in her life became a lot gentler, not as cold as before. However, after leaving school and entering the workplace, her personality had changed quite a bit. When she received a call from Tang Zhang, she was pleasantly surprised. Although the two of them were close, they did not talk on the phone like a normal young couple in love. Even the few women around Tang Zhang were not like this. They all understood that Tang Zhang had too many things to do, so it was impossible for him to take out so much time to talk about love with them like a normal boy. This bit of understanding and tolerance was precious. When Tang Zhang occasionally thought about it, he could not help but feel a warm current flowing through his heart. After receiving a call from Tang Zhang, Lu Qingmei was very happy. "Sister Mei, what are you busy with?" "I just finished talking to my client. Why are you so obedient and calling me?" Lu Qingmei said gently. "I missed you," Tang Zhang said sincerely. These were indeed words from the bottom of her heart. She had not seen Lu Qingmei for quite some time, so she really missed her teacher. Fortunately, he was making the call in his bedroom. Otherwise, if the women outside heard it, who knew what kind of bloody case it would cause? Lu Qingmei was silent for a while before she said emotionally, "I miss you too." "Sister Mei, are you done with your work?" "Almost. What's wrong? Come back quickly." "Do you really miss me so much that you can't wait to see me?" Lu Qingmei asked mischievously. "Yes." Tang Zhang didn't tell her the real reason because he didn't want to scare her. "All right, I'll fly back tomorrow. You have to pick me up at the airport." "I will definitely be there." In the evening, Mu Hongyan came back from work. This time, the room full of beauties became even more lively. Even Feng Shishir couldn't help but look at him a few more times, making him feel like he was sitting on pins and needles. Mu Hongyan and Feng Shishir were old acquaintances. After meeting, they were very close. After dinner, Mu Hongyan looked at the room full of girls. In order to avoid arousing suspicion, she was going to take Nana back to her home. Nana insisted on staying. Coupled with Feng Shishir's persuasion, she also stayed. A room full of beauties. Only Tang Zhang was a man. It was really like entering a country of women. There were all kinds of beauties, a feast for the eyes. Tang Zhang didn't have much mood to appreciate the beauty. He went to the study with Mu Hongyan to talk about Europe. When she heard that he was going to expand the company's business to Europe, Mu Hongyan was shocked. "Aren't you selling a bit too much? Although we are already famous in China, isn't it too early to go to Europe?" Mu Hongyan evaluated with her own professional vision. Tang Zhang shook his head and said, "I have already talked to several European royal families. They will give us green light and give us the greatest help. You don't have to worry. The European market will be easier to develop than the domestic market. Moreover, this is to prepare for taking over the Rockefeller family's business in the future. This step must be taken." Hiss. This time, Mu Hongyan was really shocked. Of course, she knew about the Rockefeller family. It was because she knew that she was so shocked when she heard the news. It was the world's top behemoth. Tang Zhang actually said that he wanted to take over the Rockefeller family. Mu Hongyan felt that the world was too crazy. Although Tang Zhang was very good and often created miracles, Mu Hongyan still felt that what he said was impossible. "I have already talked to several European royal families. When the time comes, they will help us deal with this matter. You can rest assured, so I want you to send someone you can trust to Europe." "I'll go." Mu Hongyan volunteered herself without hesitation. "No." Tang Zhang quickly rejected. He kept some of the people who were important to him by his side. How could he let her go? "Why?" "There is no why." Tang Zhang did not tell her about the return of the devil race, so as to save her trouble. Mu Hongyan was not a person who was easy to persuade, especially in business. She was a complete strong woman. "I have to go. This matter is too sensitive and too important. I must go to do it well. Others may mess it up. This? Tang Zhang still wanted to argue, but Mu Hongyan had already decided. It's settled. I'll go to Europe tomorrow. During this time, I'll have to trouble you to help me take care of Nana. Seeing her so insistent, Tang Zheng thought about it again. After the return of the devil race, they would definitely not go to Europe. Instead, they would mess around in Wuxia. Then there would be no threat in Europe. Therefore, if she went to Europe, she would leave the center of the storm and be safer. Well, take care of yourself. Tang Zheng promised, but did not forget to remind her. In the dead of night, Tang Zheng was lying alone in bed. Although there were many beautiful women living in this house, there were only 2 who really had an intimate relationship with him. However, he did not dare to sneak into bed like he did in the palace. The walls had ears. If he was discovered by someone, it would be embarrassing. Moreover, favoritism would hurt people's hearts. As the saying goes, 1 monk has water to drink, 2 monks have water to drink, and 3 monks have no water to drink. Tang Zheng's situation was similar. If there was only 1 woman, he could hold her in his arms with a clear conscience. But there were 2 women, so he could only lie in bed alone. The next day, Mu Hongyan went to the company early, arranged the work, and then flew directly to Europe. Tang Zheng also came to the airport alone. When he saw Lu Qingmei coming out of the airport, he quickly greeted her and gave her a big hug. In public, Lu Qingmei failed to live up to expectations and blushed. Ever since she was young, she had never let go of anything so easily. But his embrace was so warm, kind and comfortable that she couldn't extricate herself and didn't want to separate. After a long time, the 2 finally separated. Looking at the familiar face close at hand, Tang Zheng smiled and said, "Sister Mei, you've become more beautiful." "So you mean I was ugly before?" "Of course not. You used to be very beautiful, but now you're even more beautiful. You're just making me happy. I've been so busy during this time. I feel old. You've really become more beautiful, and your skin is better." Tang Zheng said seriously. Lu Qingmei's eyes bloomed with joy. Her colleagues often praised her like this. She occasionally noticed this when she looked in the mirror. Her skin was indeed smoother and more delicate than before, and even her physique had become more outstanding. In fact, this was all thanks to her cultivation. After the toxins in her body were removed, her skin was moisturized by the true qi. Naturally, it was ruddy and lustrous, as delicate as jade. "Well, you're a sweet talker. I'll reward you later." "What reward?" Tang Zheng smiled evilly. Lu Qingmei pinched him fiercely and said, "What nonsense are you thinking in your head? You're asking for a beating." "Well, don't hit me. So many people are watching you murder your husband in public. It's not good for your reputation." Tang Zheng said mischievously. "Who's my husband? I think you're getting more and more improper." Lu Qingmei took his hand and sat in the car with him. They went straight to Lu Qingmei's house. "I'm going to take a shower, and then we'll go eat together." Lu Qingmei put down her luggage and went into the bathroom, leaving Tang Zheng sitting alone, listening to the sound of water coming from the bathroom. His mood had already drifted in, but Lu Qingmei deliberately locked the door, so he couldn't break in even if he wanted to. "Sister Mei, do you want me to scrub your back?" Tang Zheng asked. "No, everyone knows Sima Zhao's heart. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking." Tang Zheng said with a bitter face. "My heart is very pure. It's a pleasure to help others." "Teacher Lu, didn't you teach me this in the past?" "You're not allowed to call me Teacher Lu," Lu Qingmei said coquettishly. Every time she heard Tang Zheng call her Teacher Lu, she would feel flustered. Tang Zheng didn't listen. He had already tested her several times. Every time he called her Teacher Lu, she would become agitated and sensitive. This was her Achilles' heel. So he turned a deaf ear and mischievously called out, "Teacher Lu, let's take a shower together. This way we can save water." Bang! The bathroom door was suddenly pushed open. Lu Qingmei, wrapped in a bath towel, rushed out with a red face and angrily said, "Didn't I tell you not to call me Teacher Lu? See how I'll deal with you." She directly pounced on Tang Zheng and began to punch and kick him. Tang Zheng pretended to be pitiful and shouted, "A teacher is hitting a student. I want to protest." Your protest is invalid. The one I'm hitting is you. Disobedient. Bad student. The two wrestled into a ball, gasping for breath. Not long after, Lu Qingmei's bath towel was torn off, revealing her naked body. Tang Zheng's clothes also became extremely messy. Tang Zheng tightly hugged her, his hands moving up and down her body. She didn't have the strength to resist and allowed him to do whatever he wanted. However, she was very happy in her heart. Her eyes were watery, like melted ice. Go to the bed. Lu Qingmei couldn't help but hook her arms around his neck. Right here, on the living room sofa. We haven't tried it yet. Tang Zheng said with a mischievous smile. Chapter 774. After a hearty battle, the two hugged each other. Lu Qingmei was lying in his arms. Tang Zheng's fingers touched a strand of her hair and twirled it around his fingertips. The fresh fragrance of her hair lingered at the tip of his nose. Sister May, I'll give you 2 magic weapons. Magic weapons? Really? Lu Qingmei propped up her upper body in surprise. Her snow-white chest swayed in front of Tang Zheng's eyes, making his mouth dry and his tongue restless. Lu Qingmei winked playfully. You want to be naughty again? If you don't seduce me, I won't. Come on, I'm not afraid of you. Lu Qingmei deliberately licked her lips. At the beginning, Tang Zheng still had the initiative, but later on, Lu Qingmei took the initiative. After all, Lu Qingmei was not a young girl like Fang Shishir. She was a few years older than Tang Zheng and more mature. Moreover, she had been separated from Tang Zheng for so long. Once her emotions were aroused, she was very fierce. The battle just now was very fierce, and Tang Zheng was almost defeated. Let's talk about business first. I'll deal with you after I rest for a while. Tang Zheng coughed awkwardly. With a thought, the dragon-trapped rope and the sumaru bag appeared in his palm. What are these? Lu Qingmei's attention was immediately attracted by these 2 magic weapons. $. This is the dragon-trapped rope. It can be used to attack and defend. It's very useful for self-defense. This is the sumaru bag. Don't you women have a lot of things? With this, you don't have to take a suitcase when you go out in the future. Wow, so magical. Although Lu Qingmei was also a cultivator, it was the first time she had come into contact with magic weapons. Of course, I have removed my connection with them. After dripping blood to bind them, they will be yours. These 2 magic weapons were almost useless to Tang Zheng. Moreover, among the few women around him, only Lu Qingmei didn't have a magic weapon. Of course, Tang Zheng couldn't favor one and discriminate against the other. Thus, he gave her his Dharma treasure. Lu Qingmei excitedly dripped a drop of blood to bind it to her, and then familiarized herself with the use of the magic weapon. She played with it so much that she even ignored Tang Zheng's request for a battle, which made Tang Zheng not know whether to laugh or cry. Sister May, there's another reason why I called you back to the capital. Recently, the world is not peaceful. For your safety, you'd better not leave the capital and move to my place. In any case, he already had a house full of women, so he didn't mind adding one more. If she wanted to kill him or torture him, it was all up to her. Move to your place? Lu Qingmei stopped playing with the magic weapon and looked at him suspiciously. Yes, this is for your safety. Who else do you have there? A woman's sixth sense was truly terrifying. She immediately asked. Tang Zheng said resentfully, there are still a few people. Women. Cough cough. Tang Zheng dryly coughed. Not only women, there are also children. Who are there? There are Shishir, Wu, and Nana that you know. There are also Fu Yao and that you don't know. Feng Shishir. Lu Qingmei immediately frowned, and her whole body became uncomfortable. I am her teacher. If you let me go to your place, how will I face her? Actually, you're not that different in age. You can be friends. Tang Zheng shamelessly advised. I'm not going. Lu Qingmei immediately frowned. What kind of identity do I have to live with you? Moreover, I have to face Feng Shishir. It's so embarrassing. But I'm worried about your safety. Tang Zheng earnestly persuaded. If I say I'm not going, then I'm not going. I can take care of myself. Moreover, this is the capital. What kind of danger can there be? Moreover, aren't you also in the capital? If there's danger, You can come and save me. Tang Zhang scratched his head. He really couldn't think of a way to persuade her. But for the sake of safety, how could he be at ease to let her live here alone? Thus he steeled his heart and said, even if you don't want to go, you have to go. I'm not going. Let's see what you can do to me. I'll kidnap you. You can try. I'll try. Tang Zhang immediately hugged her. She hurriedly struggled. Not long after, the two were once again wrestling. This time, they fought from the living room to the bedroom. In the end, Tang Zhang displayed his might and obtained victory. Lu Qingmei was unreasonably kidnapped by him. Sitting in the car, Lu Qingmei was restless. Her face was as red as an apple. She didn't know what kind of deadlock she would face. When she saw the room full of beautiful women, she really had a dazzling feeling. Even as a woman, she couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. If any other man were to come here, he would probably have a nosebleed. Lu Qingmei fiercely glared at Tang Zhang from the corner of her eyes. It was as if she was silently asking him when he established such a big country of women. Feng Shishir was very surprised to see Lu Qingmei. The two hadn't seen each other since graduation. Tang Zhang still didn't dare to openly say that Lu Qingmei was his woman. He only said that it wasn't too peaceful recently, so he asked teacher Lu to stay here for a while. Feng Shishir was very happy. She was alone and wasn't familiar with the others. She was bored to death. With Lu Qingmei, she just happened to have one more companion. Only Wu looked deeply at Lu Qingmei, but didn't say anything. She had been by Tang Zhang's side for a long time. She was clearer than anyone about the women by his side. She was sure that the relationship between Tang Zhang and Lu Qingmei was definitely not as simple as a student and teacher. On the other hand, it was Princess Annie who was carefree as she casually said, Tang Zhang, you really made me drop my glasses. Where did you go to kidnap this great beauty? Didn't I say it before? She is my teacher. Tang Zhang said without changing his expression, and curled her lips. She didn't believe him and said, your lies are only for Shishir. Tang Zhang was incomparably embarrassed. Could it be that his ability to lie was so bad? Seeing that she was about to ask more questions, Tang Zhang's phone rang, allowing him to escape a calamity. The phone call was from Su Yingtian. He wanted him to see him immediately because there was something important. Tang Zhang greeted the girls and hurriedly left. There were too many women in this group, so it was better to temporarily avoid them. Moreover, there was Empyrean Fairy at home, so he was very relieved. Tang Zhang once again came to the heavily guarded courtyard house. Su Yingtian brought him through the layers of checkpoints. Tang Zhang could clearly feel that this time, whether it was in the open or in the dark, the defense was even stronger. It seemed that the authorities were also quite afraid of the return of the demon clan. Su Yingtian's face was gloomy the entire time. He warned in a low voice, listen more and speak less later. Don't speak carelessly. It will only cause trouble. Tang Zhang had already guessed a bit and asked, is it about the return of the demon clan? Yes. Su Yingtian didn't hide anything. I've already reported this matter to the chief. The chief attaches great importance to this matter, so he called for this high-level secret meeting. Many heads will be participating. The implications are huge, so don't speak casually. Then why did you call me here? You are a cultivator and know everything about the demon clan. Moreover, you are a consultant of our National Security Bureau, which is equivalent to a professional. Perhaps we will ask for your opinions and suggestions. Hearing that he was going to meet so many heads, Tang Zhang was very calm, without the slightest bit of nervousness or excitement. He nodded expressionlessly and said, I understand. The two came to a large conference room. As far as the eye could see, there were already more than 10 people sitting there. All of them had the face of an official. Many of them were big shots who often appeared in the news. Tang Zhang did not care much about these things, nor did he recognize who exactly was who. He just sat down in the back row and looked down, as if this matter had nothing to do with him. Su Yingtian went to do other things. Tang Zhang was bored to death. He turned his eyes and swept them over each face. Perhaps if it were anyone else, they would have already been so excited that they could not control themselves. But Tang Zhang's state of mind was truly very mysterious. The matters of the outside world could not affect his mood at all. These people either lowered their heads and whispered or talked loudly. No one paid attention to Tang Zheng sitting in the back row against the wall. Suddenly, Tang Zheng's eyes turned to the door and saw a familiar face walk in. His pupils could not help but shrink. Xing Feng. He actually came too. Tang Zheng frowned inwardly. Xing Feng also saw Tang Zheng, and a light flashed through his eyes. When enemies met, their eyes would be exceptionally red. The two had already formed many grudges, and each wanted to get rid of the other. However, in this situation, there was clearly no need to make a big fuss. They only glanced at each other from afar, all of their hatred unspoken. Xing Feng did not directly have the qualifications to sit at the conference table. Instead, he sat in the back row and looked at Tang Zheng from afar. From this, it could be seen how high the standard of this meeting was. Dong dong dong. A series of powerful footsteps sounded, and the burly bureau chief walked in. Everyone hurriedly stood up. Tang Zheng did not want to be unconventional, so he also stood up. Su Yingtian followed beside the bureau chief and sat at the end of the conference table. Although his seat was at the back, he was at the conference table after all. Obviously, he was treated much better than Xing Feng. In fact, the reason Su Yingtian could sit in this position was all thanks to Tang Zheng. The Tian Shan operation not only crushed the Rockefeller family's conspiracy, but also captured the terrorists who had been hiding. This was crucial to the stability and unity of the country. This time, Su Yingtian was the first to report the return of the demons to his superiors. Su Yingtian's position naturally rose. Moreover, he was an old man for decades. Compared to Xing Feng, who seemed to have soared into the sky, his foundation was more stable and he was more popular. Tang Zheng glanced at Xing Feng, only to see him glancing at Su Yingtian without leaving a trace. The cold light that flashed in his eyes was shocking to see. Dogs can't change their habits. Xing Feng is indeed up to no good. Tang Zheng thought silently and sat down with the others without saying a word. There were also people sitting on both sides of Tang Zheng. They sat upright and still, and did not smile. Obviously, they were not small officials. In this room, other than the waiters who served tea and water, Tang Zheng was the youngest. Fortunately, the bureau chief attracted everyone's attention. Otherwise, he would have become the center of attention. It was not easy for a new face to sneak into a meeting of this level. There were many people who were curious about him. Tang Zheng already saw some people secretly glancing at him a few times. Chapter 775. The bureau chief's expression was serious as he said, "This is top secret information. Everyone, remember the rules of confidentiality. Once you see it, remember it in your heart. You are not allowed to spread it." Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Their originally relaxed expressions were immediately replaced by an unprecedented seriousness. The staff immediately distributed the information. There were a few simple pieces of A4 paper and photos. Everyone immediately lowered their heads to read. Tang Zheng also received a copy. He carefully read it. There was an introduction to the demon race and the expulsion of cultivators hundreds of years ago. It was the same as what Tang Zheng knew. He focused more on the photos. His heart skipped a beat. These photos were very cruel. They were all corpses with long bloodstains on their necks. There were probably tens of thousands of corpses. The other photos clearly showed a strange pattern. Complicated dark red lines outlined a huge pattern on the ground. Tang Zheng's eyelids twitched. Wasn't this the formation of the mountain river blood sacrifice array? Those red lines were formed by blood. Moreover, this formation was bigger than the one on Sky Mountain. The last photo was taken of the sky. Dark clouds gathered and formed a huge circle, like a tornado. One could vaguely see human figures moving in the dark clouds. It was frightening. Tang Zheng closed his eyes after reading it. He leaned back in his chair and took a few deep breaths. His heart was pounding. Originally, he was 90% sure that the demon race had returned. Now that he saw these photos, the return of the demon race was a certainty. He really wanted to question Hundred Faces Star-Lord. Why did he do this? To unify this planet? He had been trapped in Mount Buzhou for tens of thousands of years. How could he still have such ambitions? However, when he thought of 100 Transformations Star-Lord's childish appearance, he felt a chill in his heart. Back then, 100 Transformations Star-Lord had wanted to turn them all into dolls. 100 Transformations Star-Lord had probably done so purely for fun. He had treated the world as a game and everyone as dolls in the game. He had already limited himself to playing with a few people. He wanted to play with the world in the palm of his hand. Tang Zheng cursed fiercely in his heart. Why didn't anyone kill him back then? Why did he just trap him in Mount Buzhou? Why did no one stop him after tens of thousands of years? Originally, Tang Zheng thought that his cultivation speed was very fast and was already very satisfied. He couldn't wait to increase his cultivation by a few times. That way, he might be able to stop the 100 Change Star Sovereign's absurd actions. The others reacted even more strongly than Tang Zheng. Although it was difficult for them to grasp the truth and severity of the matter from this simple information, the information revealed was something many of them had never heard of before. Even though the ranks of the participants were very high, many people were still unfamiliar with Xiaofan, much less the MO. Therefore, other than being shocked, they were also somewhat at a loss. The bureau chief glanced at everyone and took in their reactions. He said in a deep voice, "Whether you understand it or not, listen to what I'm going to say next." Shwa! Everyone immediately sat up straight and listened attentively. The demon race is extremely powerful and cruel by nature. If the multiform star sovereign summons the demon race back, then this world will be in chaos and the people will be plunged into misery and suffering. As the rulers, we can't just watch the people fall into danger and have to come up with a countermeasure. This time, we'll gather the wisdom of the masses and come up with a countermeasure to be implemented immediately. The bureau chief's words were sonorous and powerful. Even Tang Zheng couldn't help but open his eyes and size him up. The bureau chief had been in a high position for a long time, but he still had a sense of responsibility in his heart. He had to be responsible for the tens of thousands of people. This made Tang Zheng feel very gratified. At least, these officials weren't as lazy as the rumors said. They still had justice in their hearts. Since the demon race is returning from an island nation, there must be traces of them crossing the ocean. We'll send troops to attack and intercept their ships or planes. We won't let them take a single step into Wuxia. We'll just have to fend them off outside the country's gates, someone suggested resolutely. The others nodded. This method is feasible. We definitely can't let the flames of war spread to our own land. The war decades ago already caused our country to suffer great damage. We can't let the construction and achievements of these decades be destroyed in a day. No one was willing to let everything that was flourishing today go up in flames. If there was a crisis, solving it on the sea was instead the most perfect strategy. Yes, we've developed for decades and are already the second most powerful country in the world. We're not to be trifled with. The demon race was very powerful hundreds of years ago, but they might not be that powerful now. Now that technology is so advanced, the power of technology has far surpassed that of humans. Although there was a detailed introduction of the demon race in the information, it was hard for people who didn't experience it for themselves to imagine how powerful they were. It was even harder to imagine how powerful that cultivation world was. People who had experienced modern education wouldn't think that the strength of the human body could contend with guns and cannons. Many others also seemed to be encouraged and offered suggestions. Their morale gradually rose, as if they didn't take the demon race seriously at all. In their eyes, perhaps the ancients from hundreds of years ago were ignorant and ignorant. That was why they spread false rumors and made the demon race so powerful. Tang Zheng sighed inwardly. Although this kind of high morale could be used and didn't destroy their own morale or boost the prestige of others, pride and arrogance would lead to great losses. Although he wanted to listen more and speak less, he saw that these people didn't realize the seriousness of the problem at all. Instead, they spoke with assurance and assurance. In the end, the ones who died were countless officers and soldiers. He really couldn't bear it. The demon race isn't as simple as you think. Tang Zheng's voice wasn't very loud, but this contrary tone was extremely ear-piercing and immediately attracted everyone's attention. Many people turned their heads to look for the speaker, but after looking for a long time, they still couldn't figure out who it was. Who is the one boosting the morale of others and destroying their own prestige? Cowering before the battle is a great taboo for military strategists. Who is it? Obediently stand up for me, someone shouted. The people around Tang Zheng heard him speak and couldn't help but lock their gazes on him. The others finally found their target and began to pay attention. Sharp gazes focused on his face, but Tang Zheng was completely unaware. He indifferently swept his gaze over the person who had reprimanded him and said, "I'm right here." "Who are you? So young, yet you're already speaking nonsense." The other party was stunned, apparently not expecting that such an excessively young person would be present at the meeting. He instantly became even more displeased. Most of the people here were old comrades. Since when was it the turn of a brat who was still wet behind the ears to criticize them? Hearing the other party reprimanding him for speaking nonsense, Tang Zhang unhappily frowned. He had sincerely raised his opinion to prevent them from suffering losses, but now it was his fault. Tang Zhang was in a bad mood, but he didn't care about Su Yingtian's warning. He loudly said, "Without investigation, you have no right to speak. You don't understand the actual situation, so why do you say I'm speaking nonsense?" "I don't understand the actual situation, but do you?" The other party fiercely retorted. Tang Zhang shrugged and said, "In any case, I understand a little more than you." Seeing that the atmosphere was at daggers drawn, Su Yingtian couldn't sit still and hurriedly stood up to smooth things over. "This is Tang Zheng, the consultant of our National Security Bureau." Tang Zheng. Many people immediately frowned. Although they didn't immediately recognize Tang Zheng, many people were not unfamiliar with this name. After all, he frequently appeared in various major events, so these big shots would often inadvertently see his name appear in various reports. Seeing the real person this time, they couldn't help but be secretly surprised. This was because he was too young, so much so that he was the same age as many people's children, or even younger. "You're that cultivator." Tang Zheng nodded. "You're a cultivator, jackals of the same tribe as the demons. What qualifications do you have to sit in on this meeting? I think the National Security Bureau is becoming more and more outrageous." Tang Zheng frowned. "If you didn't invite me, I wouldn't have come." Su Yingtian also had an anxious expression. He repeatedly urged Tang Zheng to listen more and speak less, but Tang Zheng still couldn't hold back. These people were all old comrades, and many of them had the wrong idea of judging a hero based on age. They believed that those without hair on their mouths were not reliable. Therefore, naturally, many people didn't agree with Tang Zheng. "I invited him." A dignified voice sounded. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Everyone's gaze followed the voice. "Bureau Chief." Many people's expressions changed. They didn't expect the bureau chief to invite him. This was too big of a deal. Originally, many people were prepared to bombard Tang Zheng, but they immediately swallowed their words back into their stomachs. They looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression. They thought to themselves, what did this brat do to deserve such respect from the bureau chief? Tang Zheng was originally full of anger, but seeing that the bureau chief helped him out of the situation, he nodded at him in acknowledgement. The bureau chief looked at him and said, "Tang Zheng, you're a cultivator, so you know more about the situation of the demons. Tell everyone." "Okay." Tang Zheng didn't decline. "Didn't you guys not like to hear it? Now you have to listen." Previously, someone said that the strength of cultivators was too great, and that it was just an exaggeration, right? His gaze swept over the person who said that. That person snorted and turned his head away unhappily. The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth hooked up, and said, "I want to say, you are completely wrong. The cultivator's strength introduced in the information in your hands is not exaggerated. In fact, there are many places that are too conservative. Cultivators are far more powerful than what they introduce." "Impossible!" Someone immediately exclaimed softly. "Impossible, right? Then what do you think will make you believe it?" Tang Zheng shook his head secretly. Although these people had good intentions in general, their knowledge was too shallow, and they were stubborn and inflexible. He decided to teach these people a lesson. This was not for their own good, but for the sake of the thousands of soldiers' lives. Otherwise, Tang Zheng would feel uneasy. Seeing that the other party was unable to come up with a reason, Tang Zheng said to himself, "As the saying goes, seeing is believing, and hearing is false. Today, I will show you what a cultivator's true strength is. Let's see if it is just flowery fists and impractical legs." Chapter 776. Seeing the sudden change in Tang Zheng's aura, the previously ordinary young man became as sharp as an unsheathed sword. Seeing that the bureau chief had no intention of objecting, Tang Zheng casually pointed his finger. His true chi fluctuated, and before many people could understand what was going on, Tang Zheng had already retracted his hand. There seemed to be no reaction at all. Many people muttered, There's nothing at all? He's deliberately mystifying. The person from before laughed loudly. Haha, is this the strength of a cultivator? Bluffing to scare people. Before he finished speaking, his face turned pale, and he shouted in panic, "What's going on? Why can't I move?" As soon as he said that, many people also exclaimed, "I can't move either. What kind of witchcraft is this?" In this huge conference room, except for the bureau chief, Su Tian, and Xing Feng, everyone else had turned into puppets. All of them looked as if they had seen a ghost and were shouting and screaming. Anyone who realized that they couldn't control their body would feel an indescribable fear. "Tang Zheng, is this your doing? Someone come, quickly catch him." Someone shouted. Hurried footsteps immediately sounded outside the door. With a creak, the door was pulled open by the guards. Because is all equal to the bureau chief frowned, waved his hand and said, "Get out." The guards hurriedly retreated, leaving only those people staring at each other, unable to hide the fear in their eyes. This was just the simplest body-locking technique. With Tang Zheng's current cultivation, dealing with these ordinary people, with just a thought, these people would immediately be locked in place. Of course, he didn't do that to the bureau chief. After all, he had to give him some face. As for Su Tian and Xing Feng, both of them were martial artists and weren't weak. They wouldn't be immobilized so easily. "Tang Zheng, you've already proven the power of a cultivator. Let them go." The bureau chief nodded at Tang Zheng. Of course, he knew the power of a cultivator, but he didn't stop him. He wanted to let these people experience it for themselves so that they wouldn't be ignorant. "All right," Tang Zheng replied. With a thought, he said, "You can move now." Sure enough, everyone discovered that they had regained their ability to move, and all of them turned pale with fright. This change far exceeded their imagination, and they truly felt the terror of a cultivator. Although it was just a small test, it was enough to see the strength of the Xiaofan. The people who had refuted Tang Zheng earlier all quieted down and looked at the bureau chief at the same time. The bureau chief said without batting an eyelid, "Tang Zheng, what do you suggest? First, we need to figure out where they are going. As for intercepting them outside the country, I don't think that's realistic, because cultivators who are strong enough don't need to rely on any tools at all. They can fly from the island nation to Wuxia. Flying through the air." Everyone was immediately attracted by these 4 words. They all found it hard to believe. "You're saying that the demons can fly across the sea like birds? We can't rule out that possibility." Tang Zheng nodded. Hiss. Many people gasped. Wasn't this the legendary means of the gods? But there will always be some people who can't fly through the air. The bureau chief added. "What measures do we have to deal with these people?" Tang Zheng said without hesitation, "Then we'll intercept them outside the country." This coincided with the bureau chief's thoughts. The bureau chief nodded. "Then we have to start collecting information on these people. We can't let the demon army set foot on Wuxia's land." Tang Zheng did not say a word, but he was not optimistic in his heart. The demons were everywhere. How could it be so easy to stop all of them in disguise? As for those demons who can fly through the air? The bureau chief threw another question, obviously wanting Tang Zheng to give him a satisfactory answer. "Let the radar monitor them." Tang Zheng was at his wit's end. Humans were like birds. He didn't know if the radar could detect them. "Then let the fighter jets intercept them?" "That's one way." Tang Zheng nodded. "But we have to be careful. These people are very strong. Even the fighter jets might not be able to do anything to them. Since they're in the air, can't we use missiles to shoot them down? Also, why don't we attack the island nation while the demons are still in the island nation?" Someone suggested. "Attack the island nation?" "Yes, use missiles to bombard targets that the island nation can see. We can even use nuclear bombs. Decades ago they invaded us. This time, we should treat the island nation well." These words were radical. This was equivalent to declaring war on the island nation. The consequences were unimaginable. It might even cause a world war. No one present had the guts or courage to take on this responsibility. As expected, before the others could speak, the bureau chief had already rejected it. There's no need to bring up such an unrealistic and absurd suggestion. Everyone immediately fell silent. They couldn't come up with any bloody suggestions anyway. The bureau chief turned and looked at Xing Feng. He asked, Does the dragon group have any countermeasures? Xiaofan quickly stood up and said respectfully, Bureau Chief, the dragon group will definitely go all out. A new batch of mechas can be sent to the sea to face the enemy. After saying that, he glanced at Tang Zhang from the corner of his eyes. In the past, many of the dragon group's mechas were directly or indirectly destroyed by Tang Zhang. This made Xiaofan grit his teeth in hatred. Tang Zhang's eyelids twitched. He had personally witnessed the strength of the mechas. The current strength of the mechas was probably on another level. This was the trump card of the dragon group. However, using the mechas to defend against the demons might be a good idea. Thus, Tang Zhang glanced at Xiaofan and didn't object. After hearing Xiaofang's words, the bureau chief nodded. If that's the case, not only the dragon group, but the other military departments must also send out their elites. Once they find traces of the enemy, they must intercept them with all their might. Yes. The others didn't dare to disagree. They all nodded. Also, the matter of the demons is of great importance. Remember not to spread this matter. It is even more impossible to let the public know about this in case it causes social unrest. No matter what, maintaining social stability has always been the most important thing for us. The bureau chief added. The meeting continued, but the topics were closely related to the framework and core of the discussion. Tang Zhang no longer interjected, his eyes lowered to his nose lowered to his heart, silently becoming a spectator. However, the wind didn't stop blowing. There were still many people secretly looking at Tang Zhang. It was as if they wanted to remember this face. Today, Tang Zhang's performance could be said to be amazing. He made these high-ranking officials recognize him. It was more convincing than just hearing a name or some rumors. Moreover, from the bureau chief's attitude towards Tang Zhang, many people could see that this kid's future was limitless. Many of the more intelligent people had already thought of winning over this rising star. After the meeting ended, everyone left one after another. However, Tang Zhang was left behind. Tang Zhang, I heard that Tian Chanzi has already gone to the island nation. Did you find anything? The bureau chief asked directly. He didn't ask in public just now because he didn't want others to know too much. I can't contact him. I don't know what news he has. Tang Zhang shook his head. If there is any news, share it with each other. This time, it's not just a matter of one person. It's a matter of the entire nation. It concerns millions of families. I know that you have some conflicts with the dragon group. I hope that if there is any cooperation this time, both of you can put aside your past grudges and work together sincerely. The bureau chief advised patiently. Tang Zhang looked at him suspiciously and asked, I have to work with the dragon group? The dragon group's mechas are very powerful. They are the most powerful equipment in our army. Of course, the mechas have to be used to intercept the demons. However, if you help from the side, it will be much easier. Therefore, if there is any news, I hope that you can work together sincerely with the dragon group. This decision made Tang Zhang very surprised. He liked to fight alone. Even if he wanted to work together, he had never thought of working with the dragon group. The two of them were like fire and water. I will tell Xiaofan that he will definitely not find trouble with you. You are a magnanimous person. Let's forget about the previous conflicts. Since he had already said this, Tang Zhang could not give him face. Moreover, Tang Zhang saw Su Yingtian continuously giving him looks. Obviously, he wanted him to agree. All right. Tang Zhang reluctantly agreed. I just thought of something. The Azure Dragon Hall is not weak. This force can be used to defend against the demons. He believed that the other party must know about the existence of the Azure Dragon Hall. Perhaps he had more insider information than him. Therefore, he purposely used the Azure Dragon Hall to attract attention. Or it could be said that he wanted to force the Azure Dragon Hall to reveal themselves. Hearing the three words Azure Dragon Hall, the bureau chief's eyes flashed with a complicated expression. Tang Zhang looked at him suspiciously but didn't find anything strange. The Azure Dragon Hall is too mysterious. We also don't have accurate information. Therefore, it is not a good idea to use the people of the Azure Dragon Hall to defend against the demons. The bureau chief said calmly. Tang Zhang sighed faintly. He didn't think that the bureau chief would reject him so straightforwardly. However, since the Azure Dragon Hall, Wu Zhongli and Gong Gong were jackals of the same tribe, It meant that their attitude towards cultivators was ultimately not friendly. Seeing the return of the demons, wouldn't they have a countermeasure? With the return of the demons, the first to be affected would be the warriors. Naturally, these three mysterious organizations would be included. If we can find the people of the Azure Dragon Hall, that would be the best. Tang Zheng thought silently. However, the Azure Dragon Hall was too elusive. Where would he find their members? I know that you are a good patriotic youth. This time you have to put in more effort. The country will not forget anyone who has contributed. The bureau chief said solemnly. Tang Zheng smiled but did not comment. He said his goodbyes and left with Su Yingtian, leaving the center of power. The bureau chief returned to the study room alone. He turned around and personally closed the door. Chapter 777. This masked man was the head of the Azure Dragon Hall, the Lord. The bureau chief was not surprised by the masked man standing in the room. He nodded slightly at him and walked to the window, standing side by side with the Lord. How did the meeting go? The Lord asked calmly. After the bureau chief gave a brief introduction, he added, Tang Zheng suggested for the Azure Dragon Hall to fight against the demons, but I rejected it in the end. The eyes behind the mask shone brightly, and he smiled strangely. Tang Zheng is really indulging in fantasy. Actually, I think what Tang Zheng said is not unreasonable. At this moment, the survival of the country is at stake. If the Azure Dragon Hall has a way, why not give it a try? You don't want to see this world really being occupied by the cultivators, right? The Lord frowned and asked suspiciously. You're all worrying for nothing. The demons have returned, but not all of them have. Island Nation is not rich in spiritual energy. Although the 100 Change Star Lord killed more people to make up for this lack, it didn't have much effect. Therefore, there are only about 100 demons that returned this time, and they don't have the ability to overturn this world. The Lord said as if victory was in his hands. Only 100? The bureau chief widened his eyes in surprise, and all the cells in his body seemed to be filled with joy. Really? Of course, when have I been wrong? The Lord was full of confidence. The bureau chief heaved a sigh of relief and said with lingering fear, It's really full of twists and turns. It's like riding a roller coaster. You don't know how much pressure I've been under. With pressure comes motivation. Although there aren't many demons that returned, they still have power that cannot be underestimated. They will definitely spare no effort to find a way to let the other demons return. This is what we really need to be wary of. The bureau chief understood and said, Prevent all the demons from returning. The High Lord nodded his head. That's right, so your military is barely qualified for the current mission. Moreover, with Tang Zheng's help, you guys are like a tiger that has grown wings. You should be able to snipe these demons. The Azure Dragon Hall has always been at odds with the cultivators. As the descendants of New Era, are you going to sit by and do nothing? The bureau chief was slightly dissatisfied. The Lord shook his head and smiled. Of course not. The Azure Dragon Hall has more important things to do. What is it? You don't need to know that. The High Lord didn't give him any face and directly said. Although the military can deal with the rest of the demons, the ever-changing Star Sovereign is not an ordinary person. Is the Azure Dragon Palace going to sit by and do nothing? This time, the Mountain River Blood Sacrifice Array did not really succeed. Then, next time, when the 100 Transformation Star Sovereign was more prepared, wouldn't that mean that the demon army would be able to return smoothly? What should we do then? The bureau chief did not give up and continued to ask aggressively. Last time, you said that you had a way to deal with the 100 Change Star Sovereign. However, until now you have not done anything. What exactly is your Azure Dragon Hall planning to do? The Great Lord looked at the bureau chief with a burning gaze. The bureau chief was not afraid at all. He raised his head and looked into the Great Lord's eyes. If you have something to say, just say it. You can't just scare me with your eyes. The Great Lord smiled faintly. I'm not trying to scare you. It's just that the Azure Dragon Hall has its own rules. It's not up to others to tell us what to do. I don't want to tell you what to do, but what's the purpose of keeping the 100 Transformation Star Sovereign? The bureau chief continued to ask. The Great Lord turned his head slightly, and a mysterious smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He thought to himself, my 100-year plan is not something that you can guess. There's nothing else for me to do here. Goodbye. The great lord disappeared. As soon as he finished speaking, before the bureau chief could say anything to stop him, the great lord had already disappeared from his sight. The bureau chief's eyes kept changing. He punched the wall and said, deliberately mystifying and half-hearted, the people of the Azure Dragon Hall are getting more and more unreasonable. Tang Zheng walked alone on the street, recalling what he had seen and heard during the meeting. Now, he could only wait for the official news. Once they found traces of the demons, they would definitely inform him. Tian Chanzi, where did you run off to? You're so mysterious. He sighed deeply and suddenly raised his head. Why does this place feel so familiar? Only then did he realize that he had unknowingly come to a place not far from the Ye family. The Ye family's courtyard gate was already in sight. Although Ding Dang and I have broken up, the return of the demons is a matter of great importance. I should inform them, in case something unexpected happens. Tang Zheng walked to the Ye family gate. When the guard saw him, he couldn't help but take a few steps back. Last time, when he made a scene at the Ye family, many people suffered at his hands. Please inform Yi Tianlei or Feng Xinyang that I have something to discuss with them. Tang Zheng didn't force his way in and said politely. When the guard saw that he did not intend to barge in recklessly, he heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly turned around to report. A moment later, Yi Tianlei walked out with large strides. Tang Zheng, why are you here? Yi Tianlei's attitude was much better than last time. During this time, his dissatisfaction with Tang Zheng had gradually dissipated. Tang Zheng, you and Ding Dang have already broken up. There's no need to continue entangling with each other. Tang Zheng's lips curled into a bitter smile. He shook his head and said, I didn't come for that. I came to tell you something. I'll leave once I'm done. Hearing this, Yi Tianlei felt very regretful. In fact, he was very satisfied with Tang Zheng in all aspects. But the heavens made fools of people. In the end, the two young people didn't walk together. Say it. If there's anything you want to tell Ding Dang, I can also pass it on for you. There's no need. Tang Zheng shook his head. Since Yi Ding Dang didn't want to be together, then he had nothing to say. Oh, I was wondering who came. With such great face, you actually made Uncle Yi personally come to receive you. So it's you. An ear-piercing voice came from the gatehouse. A few people walked out confidently. Enemies on a narrow road. The person who came was actually Song Yu. Tang Zheng's eyelids twitched. Why was Song Yu at the Ye family? Tang Zheng, it's important for people to know their own limits. If you blindly pester endlessly and overestimate yourself, you'll be the one losing face in the end. Song Yu said sarcastically. Tang Zheng stared at Song Yu. He never realized that Song Yu's face was so annoying. When he first met Song Yu at Ordinary Balance's courtyard, he was a refined and courteous young master who gave people a good impression. Later on, that impression slowly slipped. Now, when Tang Zheng saw this face, he had the urge to beat someone up. In fact, Song Yu looked like a modest gentleman, but he had two faces. Back then, he appreciated Tang Zheng, so he was naturally refined and courteous. Now that Tang Zheng had far surpassed him, his modest and gentlemanly demeanor was naturally thrown out of the window. It seemed that only by using words to provoke Tang Zheng would he be able to balance out a lot. Was it shallow? Indeed. Shallow. Who said that the children of large families weren't shallow? They would definitely be gentle, refined, generous, and selfless. It was just that the people of large families were better at hiding and doing superficial work. But in front of Tang Zheng, Song Yu really couldn't pretend. Seeing Song Yu's unbridled sarcasm, Tang Zheng said coldly, Song Yu, what are you doing here at the Ye family? Haha, who are you? What qualifications do you have to ask about my business? Song Yu said disdainfully, lightly raising his eyebrows. But seeing that you asked so sincerely, I'll tell you. I'm here to propose to Ding Dang. Propose? Tang Zheng was so angry that his temples were throbbing. He looked at Yi Tianlei. Uncle Yi, is this true? It's a long story. Tang Zheng, don't be so agitated. Yi Tianlei advised. Song Yu seemed to want to make Tang Zheng agitated and continued to provoke. Tang Zheng, you're so agitated. Are you very happy? I appreciate your kind intentions. Don't worry, when Ding Dang and I get married, I'll send you an invitation. Tang Zhang snorted and said directly to Yi Tianlei, Uncle Yi, you can clearly see what kind of person Song Yu is. You absolutely can't push Ding Dang into the fire pit. Tang Zheng, how can you say that? Who's the fire pit? You're pestering endlessly. Be careful that I don't hold back. Song Yu's expression turned cold as she berated. Tang Zheng's gaze turned cold as he said, I'm the one who's going to be impolite to you. I told you to stay away from Ding Dang. If you don't listen, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Tang Zhang still had Yi Ding Dang in his heart. Although he respected Yi Ding Dong's choice, when he heard the explosive news of the marriage proposal, his anger couldn't help but soar. Song Yu knew very well that she wasn't Tang Zheng's opponent. She moved slightly and hid behind Yi Tianlei, shouting, You only know how to use your hands. Such a violent person is a disgrace to culture. Ding Dang knowing you is the biggest mistake in his life. Uncle Yi, get out of the way. I want to teach this brat a lesson. Tang Zhang rubbed his fists and said angrily. This was the Ye family's gate. Yi Tianlei naturally couldn't turn a blind eye. He watched Tang Zheng attack Song Yu and hurriedly advised, Tang Zheng, calm down. Uncle Yi, how do you want me to calm down? Song Yu actually shamelessly came to propose to Ding Dang. If I don't beat him until half his body is paralyzed, then I swear I will not rest. Tang Zheng said aggressively. Song Yu wasn't afraid at all and provoked. What you say sounds better than singing. This is the Ye family. How can you do whatever you want? Where will the Ye family put their face? Song Yu wasn't afraid and was trying to sow discord. He knew that Yi Tianlei wouldn't turn a blind eye to it. Perhaps, he wanted to provoke Tang Zheng's anger and make the situation go out of control. Although Tang Zheng guessed some of the other party's thoughts, he had to get involved in today's matter. Even if it was the other party's trick, he had to step in and ruin the so-called marriage proposal. Seeing Tang Zheng's anger, Yi Tianlei continued to persuade. Tang Zheng, listen to me. It's useless for you to stir up this matter. Is it? Then who is in charge of this matter? Uncle Yi, you are Ding Dong's father. Could it be that you will just watch as your daughter marries him? Tang Zheng questioned. Yi Tianlei glanced back from the corner of his eyes and didn't answer. Of course, he didn't want to marry his daughter to Song Yu. Chapter 778. Tang Zheng directly walked towards the door. Song Yu immediately shouted in a sarcastic tone. Yo, Tang Zheng, what do you think the Ye family is? You just barged in like that. If this were to spread, where would the Ye family's reputation be? It was obvious that Song Yu was trying to drive a wedge between them again. Although Yi Tianlei knew this, he had no choice but to comply with Song Yu's wishes. He stopped Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng, don't be impatient. If you barge in like this, the old man will definitely go crazy. Things will become even more difficult to handle. Tang Zheng sneered. Are you saying that I should wait for the dust to settle? Then the daylily will be too late. Uncle Yi, move aside. I'm going to see Yi Xuanji, not do anything else. Tang Zheng, don't make it difficult for me. Yi Tianlei said awkwardly. Tang Zheng looked at him deeply and nodded. Okay, I won't make it difficult for you. That's right, let's talk things out. Yi Tianlei let out a sigh of relief. Suddenly, a figure flashed in front of him. Tang Zheng actually passed by him and rushed into the door. Yi Tianlei was shocked. Tang Zheng's speed was too fast, causing him to be unable to guard against it. Tang Zheng, don't go in, stop. Seeing Tang Zheng rush in like lightning, Yi Tianlei hurriedly shouted to stop him. However, Tang Zheng turned a deaf ear to him. Song Yu's eyes could not hide the shock and horror in them, especially when Tang Zheng passed by Yi Tianlei. He was as fast as lightning, and he did not see it clearly. There was not even a trace of an afterimage. How did Tang Zheng's cultivation improve so much? Song Yu's expression couldn't help but become a little ugly. Seeing Yi Tianlei chase after him, he also quickly followed. Tang Zheng was familiar with the place and arrived at the reception hall in the blink of an eye. Some people were talking loudly and enthusiastically. When Tang Zheng suddenly appeared at the entrance, he immediately received everyone's gazes. Many gazes swept over, and many people couldn't help but frown. Yi Xuanji's eyelids twitched as he stared at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression. he unhappily said. Tang Zheng, why did you barge in? Tang Zheng turned a deaf ear to her. His eyes were firmly fixed on Yi Dingdang as he strode over and asked, Song, you came to propose? Yi Dingdang looked at him expressionlessly and said, What does this have to do with you? This has nothing to do with me, but I won't just watch you fall into a pit of fire. Tang Zheng said unyieldingly. Yi Dingdong's heart thumped as if it was fiercely poked. She was a little touched, but also a little heartbroken. In fact, this period of time was also very torturous for her. She liked Tang Zheng. There was no doubt about it. Breaking up with Tang Zheng would mean completely severing ties with him. Cutting him out of her life seemed easy, but when she really did it, she realized how painful her heart was. But there was no turning back. With her unyielding personality, of course she couldn't redeem herself, although she would occasionally have such thoughts. At this moment, seeing Tang Zheng's arrival, although she looked calm on the surface, her heart was already in turmoil. When Feng Xinyang saw Tang Zheng, her eyes were filled with passion. Just as she was about to greet him, she heard Yi Xuanji loudly say, Tang Zheng, this is the Ye family, not a place for you to behave atrociously. Being ignored by Tang Zheng in front of everyone, Yi Xuanji's anger had already risen. Tang Zheng suddenly turned around and stared at Yi Xuanji from a distance. He found that there was also an extraordinary old man sitting next to him. This person was definitely not an ordinary person. He was very powerful, probably also a master. Tang Zheng immediately guessed the other party's identity. The head of the Song family, Song Jianan. It seemed that Song Yu's proposal this time was very grand. She even invited Song Jianan to be a witness. Song Yu had put a lot of thought into it. But in Tang Zheng's eyes, the head of the family was bullshit. Even if it was the emperor, he would still ruin this marriage, just like he did before. A person who doesn't even care about his own granddaughter's happiness has no right to lecture me, Tang Zheng said sarcastically. Yi Xuanji's old face was as red as a monkey's butt. He said angrily, Tang Zheng, I've always tolerated you because you're a junior, so I didn't argue with you. But there's a limit to everything. If you continue to be stubborn and pester endlessly, I'll let you know how powerful the Ye family is. Tang Zheng sneered. The Ye family is very powerful. I've finally seen it for myself. They can even sacrifice their own family's happiness for the rest of their lives. That's really powerful. Nonsense. Yi Xuanji's thoughts were seen through, and he became even more angry. This time, Song Yu invited Song Jianan to propose marriage. If it were before, Yi Xian would have had the chance to refuse. But now, the situation was pressing. The rise of the Song family made him feel a lot of pressure. But the Ye family was isolated and helpless. They were all alone. If Yi Xuanji refused again this time, and the first engagement was ruined, the Ye family would become a thorn in the side of the Song family. The Song family's first target would not be the Yen family, but the Ye family. To deal with the Ye family now, the Song family's strength was enough. By then, the Ye family would be in danger. Yi Xuanji was old and shrewd, and he easily saw through this. So this time, even though he knew that the Song family came to propose marriage, he did not reject them immediately. If Tang Zheng did not come to mess things up, perhaps Yi Xuanji would have agreed in the end. After all, this way, the Ye family could avoid a crisis. Although he sacrificed Yi Dingdong's happiness, the children of big families were mostly married to each other. How could there be so much freedom in love? On the contrary, it was more common for ordinary people to have freedom in love. This was the duty that should be fulfilled while enjoying all kinds of wealth and treatment. Yi Xuanji thought that this was a matter of course. As for Yi Dingdong's own thoughts, Yi Xuanji chose to ignore them. Song Jianan had been silently observing Tang Zheng. He was also very interested in this rising star, and thought that it was really a miracle. But miracles often did not last long, especially such a young and energetic person. There would be a day when he would fall. Moreover, Tang Zheng caused trouble everywhere. Not only was he like fire and water with the Dragon Group, he even recently heard that he had a conflict with the Rockefeller family. This made Song Jianan even more disregard for him. In fact, Song Jianan still felt a little regretful. Because he originally wanted to build a connection with the Rockefeller family, so he sent Song Yu to contact the young Lord Louis, and even provided a lot of convenience for the other party. Louis was able to gather tens of thousands of people in a short period of time, naturally without Song Yu's cooperation. However, Song Yu did not know about the mountain river blood sacrifice array at all. He thought that it was just to catch some unimportant people, not worth mentioning, and even forgot about it. The matter of Sky Mountain was kept secret very well. Even Song Yu did not know that Louis had already died in the hands of Tang Zheng. Otherwise, he would not have acted so recklessly. Song Jianan was like an old fox, smiling at Tang Zheng, and said, "Xuanji, this young man is really hot-tempered. He doesn't put anyone in his eyes at all, and he doesn't put the Ye family in his eyes at all." Tang Zheng raised his thick eyebrows. This old thing and Song Yu were indeed family. Their ability to sow discord was the same. Hearing this, Yi Xuanji slammed the chair and was about to stand up. Just at this time, Yi Tianlei rushed in and hurriedly pulled Tang Zheng, saying, "Tang Zheng, let's go out first. If there's anything, we can talk about it in private." Yi Tianlei was afraid that the old man would attack in anger, and if that happened, Tang Zheng would be at a disadvantage. In his impression, although Tang Zheng's strength was getting stronger and stronger, but after all, the older the ginger, the spicier the ginger, so he subconsciously thought that Tang Zheng was not the old man's opponent. Tang Zheng skillfully broke free from Yi Tianlei, and said sincerely, "Uncle Yi, some things can be compromised, but some things must be insisted on. You don't want Ding Dang to live in pain and regret for the rest of her life, right?" Yi Tianlei's face was conflicted. As a father, he naturally wanted his daughter to be happy. "Uncle Yi, it's hard for you to do this, so let me do it. Ding Dang, don't worry, I will definitely not let their scheme succeed." Tang Zheng solemnly promised Yi Ding Dang. Yi Ding Dong's heart was moved. She did not have a good impression of Song Yu. Last time at school, in order to anger Tang Zheng, she sat in Song Yu's car and got off as soon as they left the school gate. She did not want to have too much contact with Song Yu. But Song Yu was determined. This time, she even brought up Song Jia Nan to propose marriage. Although it was not finalized, Yi Ding Dang could already see that Yi Xuanji was moved. Yi Ding Dang was very disappointed. The so-called family was not worth mentioning in the face of benefits. Just now, she was even thinking about how Tang Zheng would react when he found out about this. She did not think that Tang Zheng would magically appear from the sky as if he had heard her thoughts. Yi Ding Dang naturally did not want to marry Song Yu. Even if Yi Xuanji agreed, she would not take it seriously. So when everyone was talking about it, she did not say a word. Because she had already made up her mind to not agree. Whether others agreed or not, it was not worth mentioning to her. As for whether it would harm the Ye family's interests, Yi Ding Dang did not have much feelings for the Ye family. Naturally, she would not care. She was like an indifferent spectator, watching this group of people play out this funny scene. Others did not know what Yi Ding Dang was thinking. They only saw Tang Zheng's firm attitude. Yi Xuanji finally stood up from the chair. He glared at Tang Zheng and walked step by step towards him. The earth-shattering aura made the living room seem as if it had turned into a vast ocean, with stormy waves crashing towards Tang Zheng. "Father, there's no need to do this," Yi Tianlei advised. "Go away." Yi Xuanji waved his hand. Yi Tianlei staggered and retreated, leaving only Tang Zheng to face Yi Xuanji alone. Song Yu also chased after them and coincidentally saw this scene. Her eyebrows were raised in joy as this was a perfect situation. Tang Zheng did not know the difference between life and death and provoked Yi Xuanji. Even if he did not die this time, he would at least lose a layer of skin. Of course, it would be best if Tang Zheng died in the Ye family's hands. This way, the Song family would be able to distance themselves from him. Even if someone wanted to take revenge, they would look for the Ye family. This way, the Ye family would be more firmly attached to the Song family. His chances would be greater. "Tang Zheng, you asked for it. This time you asked for it, but in the end you helped me." Huh. Song Yu was secretly happy. "Tang Zheng, I'll say it again. Get out of the Ye family immediately. Otherwise, I won't be polite." Yi Xuanji gave his last ultimatum. Tang Zheng did not move at all. He looked at Yi Xuanji indifferently. He did not take him seriously at all. Chapter 779. Yi Xuanji was angered to the point of blowing on his beard and glaring at Tang Zheng. His eyes flashed with an ominous glint as his 5 fingers formed into claws. With a roar, he clawed at Tang Zheng's shoulder. He was ready to teach Tang Zhang a lesson. After all, he didn't have a good relationship with Tang Zhang. However, he didn't want to kill Tang Zhang. After all, Tang Zhang had the mysterious Tian Chanzi behind him. If he offended Tian Chanzi, he would lose more than he could gain. Tang Zhang moved his feet slightly and moved his body slightly. Yi Xuanji's 5 fingers actually brushed past Tang Zhang's clothes and didn't hurt him at all. Ah! Yi Xuanji's heart skipped a beat. Tang Zhang's movement was too casual and smooth. He instantly disintegrated his attack. However, Yi Xuanji was a veteran after all. His other hand was like a long whip, grabbing at Tang Zhang's shoulder. Tang Zhang didn't dodge this time. Instead, he moved like lightning and grabbed Yi Xuanji's wrist. Up! Tang Zhang let out a low roar, and Yi Xuanji discovered that his feet had left the ground. Shit! Yi Xuanji cried out. He tried to land on the ground, but he found that an irresistible force lifted him up and sent him flying. Bang! Yi Xian and Yi Xuanji landed far away. They staggered back 3 steps before stabilizing their bodies. The ground under their feet was already in a mess. Yi Xuanji was still in shock. He looked at his hands and then at Tang Zhang. He couldn't understand how he lost his hands so carelessly. Everyone's expression changed. None of them were mediocre. They immediately judged that Tang Zhang's failure wasn't a coincidence. It was his true strength. In fact, they only needed to think a little to understand that in front of a master like Yi Xuanji, it was impossible for a coincidence to happen. With his strength and vision, he could kill any coincidence in the cradle. Song Jianan looked at Tang Zhang with a serious expression. He recalled the scene just now and couldn't help but secretly praise him. Whether it was the strength or the timing, they were all perfect. Not only did this require one's own strength as a foundation, but it also required the support of one's battle experience. It was rare to see someone at such a young age reach such a realm. No wonder you suffered so much at the hands of the other party. Indeed, it's not unjust. However, for the sake of the great cause of the Song family in the future, we should get rid of this nail. The killing intent in Song Jianan's heart gradually accumulated. Tang Zhang looked at Yi Xuanji indifferently and said, "Show me what you've got. Since you can't beat me, then I'll take care of this matter." Yi Xuanji was only at the first level of the Supreme Power Realm and had barely touched the threshold of the second level of the Supreme Power Realm. Compared to Tang Zhang, who had a second level of the Golden Core Realm, it seemed that there was only 1 level difference, but in fact, there was a huge gap between them. Tang Zhang was confident that no matter what, Yi Xuanji was no match for him. Yi Xuanji's expression kept changing. With so many people watching, if he lost again, it would really be a disgrace. He took a deep breath and said, "Tang Zhang, don't be arrogant." After that, his hands turned into claws, one in front and one behind. The air seemed to be torn apart, leaving behind afterimages of claw marks. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Tang Zhang. Tang Zhang stood still. When the other party was in front of him, he threw out both fists and moved forward together, like 2 angry dragons coming out of the sea. Bang! Bang! The fists hit the claws. The claws tried to catch the fists, but they found that the huge force directly shook them away. Tang Zhang moved his legs. With a small step, he was already in front of Yi Xuanji. The attack of his fists was not reduced, and they were aimed at Yi Xuanji's chest. Yi Xuanji retreated in a hurry and put his hands forward, trying to block the 2 huge fists. However, he heard a crisp sound and a sharp pain came from his wrist. Tang Zhang's fist directly broke his wrist. The fist slipped out of his arm and hit his chest. Bang! With a thunder-like explosion, Yi Xuanji was sent flying to the door. The door creaked as if it was going to fall down. Tang Zhang's series of attacks did not have any tricks. It was all strength. It was dazzling and as fast as lightning. It was a real test of one's skills. Many people were already dumbfounded. If they were shocked at the beginning, then now they were frightened. Each and every one of them looked at Tang Zhang with eyes full of disbelief and astonishment. "Father!" Yi Tianlei hurriedly helped Yi Xuanji up, patted the dust on his body, and asked with concern, "Father, how are you?" Yi Xuanji's face was ashen. It was not that he was heavily injured. Only the fracture of his wrist was a little uncomfortable, but this pain was nothing to him. He was more shocked. Tang Zhang was stronger than him, and not just a little bit stronger. He had a feeling that if Tang Zhang had not shown mercy, the fist that hit his chest would have directly shattered his ribs and even his heart. It was precisely because he knew all of this that all sorts of feelings welled up in his heart, and he was practically unable to accept such a cruel reality. He had been practicing for a lifetime and finally broke through to the first level of the supreme power realm. In the eyes of others, it was already rare and commendable. However, Tang Zhang surpassed him in just over a year. What did this mean? It was like Yi Xuanji's lifetime of hard work was a joke compared to Tang Zheng. A big joke. Yi Xuanji's face was red for a while, then pale for a while, and then gloomy for a while. In short, his heart was broken. Tang Zheng no longer paid attention to Yi Xuanji. Instead, he walked to Yi Dingdang and said straightforwardly, "Your happiness is up to you. No one can tell you what to do. This is the only thing I can do for you." These words were clean and neat, but also revealed endless helplessness and pain. Because he could not save this relationship. Yi Dingdong's eyes rippled, and a trace of dense qi rose from the depths of her eyes. She bit her lips and could not say a word. Her mood was fluctuating too violently. It was not because of Tang Zheng's amazing cultivation, but because of these words, because of Tang Zheng's heart. There was no doubt that Tang Zheng still liked her. She clearly felt this, and she also liked him. However, the hurdle in her heart was like the world's first mountain, which she could not cross at all. Feng Xinyang looked at Tang Zheng with shining eyes. The more she looked at him, the more she liked him. He was so handsome. She sighed endlessly. Why couldn't such a handsome man be her son-in-law? That would be a huge loss. However, her daughter's happiness was up to her. Feng Xinyang did not intend to interfere. Tang Zheng looked deeply at Yi Dingdang. He did not expect her to respond. Just looking at her like this, he felt that what he did was enough. Suddenly, Yi Dingdong's pupils shrank, as if she had seen something. She shouted, "Careful!" Tang Zheng's heart trembled. He hurriedly turned around and threw a punch. Bang! Tang Zheng flew out and crashed into the wall, creating a large hole. Immediately, his eyes lit up. He stared at the enemy who was charging at him like lightning, Song Jianan. He actually launched a sneak attack. Song Jianan was completely helpless. He originally thought that Yi Xuanji could deal with Tang Zheng, or even kill him. Later, he realized how ruthless and cruel reality was. It did not go according to his expectations at all. Tang Zheng's strength had exceeded everyone's expectations. Yi Xuanji's defeat was without suspense, and it was a clean defeat. Even though Yi Xuanji still had the strength to fight, it was clear that his momentum had been completely destroyed by the 2 consecutive attacks. If Song Jianan still did not make a move, then the marriage proposal would really be ruined. Killing Tang Zheng would be even more difficult. Thus, he chose the safer method of a sneak attack. He even concealed his aura and launched his attack at lightning speed. Who would have thought that at the crucial moment, Yi Dingdong's warning would cause him to fall short of success? Song Jianan had the intention of killing Tang Zheng in one strike, but in the end, he only sent Tang Zheng flying. He did not give up, and like a dragon, he followed Tang Zheng like a shadow, arriving in front of Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng angrily roared, his voice shaking the teacups in the hall to the point that they all shattered. Then, he pushed his hands forward, and the War Soul sword appeared in his hands out of thin air, fiercely chopping down. Song Jianan saw the battle soul that appeared out of nowhere. His face showed a trace of strangeness. He already knew a lot about the divine abilities of cultivators. Seeing it with his own eyes was still amazing. However, he did not retreat. He extended his palm forward and patted the sword. Then, like a water snake, that pair of large hands actually wrapped around Tang Zheng's arm. Shake! Song Jianan roared. His arm exerted strength. It was as if steel needles were piercing into Tang Zheng's arm. The heart-wrenching pain caused Tang Zheng's arm to go numb. Battle's soul actually fell from his hand to the ground. Tang Zheng was extremely shocked, as no one had ever shaken the War Soul sword out of his hands, and Song Jianan was the only one. Immediately, Tang Zheng understood that the other party's cultivation was much higher than Yi Xuanji's. This was a difficult character to deal with. Song Jianan's cultivation was indeed higher than Tang Zheng's. He had already reached the master level several years ago. In these few years, he had just broken through to the 4th level of the master level. He was 2 levels higher than Tang Zheng's cultivation. Looking at the painful expression on Tang Zheng's face, Song Jianan said proudly, "Now you've tasted the taste of my 1,000 needles bone-breaking hand. This is only the beginning. Next is the real show." 1,000 needles bone-breaking hand. Tang Zheng's eyelids twitched. The pain just now was indeed like thousands of steel needles piercing into his skin. It lived up to its name. Since there was also the word bone-breaking, then the next step was definitely to break his bones. He did not guess wrong. This 1,000 needles bone-breaking hand was a ruthless method. When facing the enemy, Song Jianan's arm was soft as if it had no bones. It was like a snake wrapping around the opponent. Then his inner strength burst out. It was like thousands of steel needles piercing out of his skin, piercing into the opponent's skin and even into the bones. The next step was an even more tragic broken bone. The true qi that pierced into the bones would explode. A series of crackling sounds could be heard, like the sound of firecrackers. It could cause the muscles and bones of a person to explode in an instant, turning them into a pile of mud. Break! Song Jianan roared again, tightly grabbing Tang Zheng. Chapter 780. Tang Zheng was in so much pain that he wanted to die, but he still clenched his teeth and endured it. He flipped his palm and grabbed Song Jianan's arm, and fiercely pushed his qi back. Pang! Like a spring, Tang Zheng used this force to shake himself out of Song Jianan's grasp. Ha! Song Jianan was a little surprised. He was sure of victory, but he was still able to escape. He really did have some skills. Want to run? Stop right there. Song Jianan roared, and chased after him like a maggot. Yi Dingdong's heart couldn't help but jump to her throat. She subconsciously grabbed Feng Xinyang's hand, and her palm was covered in cold sweat. Feng Xinyang sighed. What was the point of this? He cared so much, but pretended to be indifferent. Of course, with Feng Xinyang's temper, how could she just stand by and watch Song Jianan bully the weak? She stood up and shouted, "Song Jianan, what you're doing is too despicable. You're bullying the weak, and you even used a sneak attack. What kind of man are you?" Feng Xinyang's words made Song Jianan's expression change. He coldly snorted and said, "Women really do have long hair and short eyes. I'm helping your Ye family, and you're biting the hand that feeds you? Little handsome brother, you've helped the Ye family, and you've helped me, Feng Xinyang. And, since you're doing this, I can't just stand by and watch." She could sit by and watch Tang Zheng and Yi Dingdang break up, but she couldn't just stand by and watch Tang Zheng get bullied like this. That wasn't her style. Therefore, seeing injustice on the road, Feng Xinyang roared and rushed toward Song Jianan, shouting, "Stop!" With her cultivation, facing Song Jianan was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. But so what? She just couldn't stand Song Jianan. Yi Tianlei had already opened his mouth wide in disbelief. Yi Xuanji's face became even more gloomy as he shouted to stop her. "Feng Xinyang, stop right there." Feng Xinyang turned a deaf ear to him and directly grabbed at Song Jianan's back. Song Jianan turned his hand and hit back. Bang! Feng Xinyang was like a kite with a broken string. She flew backward and crashed into several pieces of furniture before stopping. Blood was flowing out from the corner of her mouth. Seeing this, Yi Dingdang was enraged, and all the wolves in him lost their vigor. He shouted, "You dare to hurt her, I'll fight you to the death." Shwa! He raised his clear wind sword and thrust it forward as fast as lightning. The clear wind sword was as light as a feather. It was a true treasure sword. When paired with the wind-chasing sword art, it was truly wondrous. Song Jianan didn't put Yi Dingdang in his eyes at all. He didn't even turn his head as he tried to force Yi Dingdang back with a palm strike. However, his palm missed. With a flash of sword light, the Qing Feng sword pierced through his palm. Blood splattered everywhere. Ah! Song Jianan gave a pitiful cry as he forced back Tang Zheng. He suddenly turned around and stared at his palm. He saw that his palm had been pierced through by the clear wind sword and blood was dripping down. "You actually injured me." He gritted his teeth and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Ever since he became famous, he had never been in such a sorry state. His palm had been pierced by a little girl who was still wet behind the ears. This was a great humiliation. However, he was also shocked in his heart. Other than the fact that he had underestimated his opponent, The most important reason was that Yi Dingdong's sword art was too exquisite. It caught him off guard. Of course, if he had been more careful, even if there were two Yi Dingdang, they wouldn't have been able to hurt him. All of this was a coincidence. But an injury was an injury. With so many pairs of eyes watching, there was no way to argue. The others were also stunned as they looked at the clear wind sword in Yi Dingdong's hand that was still dripping with blood. Suddenly, Yi Tianlei shouted, "Dingdang, be careful." He threw himself at his daughter without a care for his own safety. This was because he had already seen the strong killing intent in Song Jian'an's eyes. Even if Yi Dingdang was a member of the Ye family, Song Jian'an would definitely kill her to protect his own face. He was not wrong. Song Jian'an really did make a move. Song Jian'an's large hand reached out to grab Yi Dingdang. With Yi Dingdong's cultivation, as long as she fell into his hands, it would be hard for her to escape. Yi Dingdang panicked and the clear wind sword turned into a blur as it quickly pierced towards Song Jian'an. However, Song Jian'an had already seen the power of the clear wind sword and had already thought of a way to avoid it. He easily dodged the sword and his large hand reached towards Yi Dingdong's head. "Don't!" Yi Tianlei rushed over and his large fist carried the sound of wind and thunder as it flew towards Song Jian'an. Pang! Yi Tianlei flew out and spat out a mouthful of blood in midair. Song Jian'an's attack was slightly blocked and his hand fiercely descended. Yi Dingdang could not dodge and was almost in despair because she could clearly feel the pressure and aura coming from above her head. "Go to hell!" Suddenly, a shout came from behind Song Jian'an. It was Tang Zheng's attack. Song Jian'an had been on guard against Tang Zheng. When he heard the sound, his other hand pushed backwards. Pang! The two palms fiercely hit each other. However, Song Jian'an did not feel that Tang Zheng was sent flying. Instead, he stuck to his palm like glue. What's going on? He felt that something was strange and felt a strong wind behind him. He had no choice but to give up on Yi Dingdang and turn around to face Tang Zheng. Pang! Another palm, and the other two palms also stuck together. Four eyes met, and Song Jian'an felt a bit strange in his heart. Coincidentally, he saw the strange look in Tang Zheng's eyes, and his heart couldn't help but getting. The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth curled up and said, "Song Jian'an, taste this." As his voice fell, Tang Zheng activated the swallowing the sky technique. Whoosh! A trace of mysterious power was born from his palm. A huge suction force was immediately produced. It was like a huge black hole, swallowing Song Jian'an's power. Ah! Song Jian'an cried out in shock. "Kid, what are you doing?" Tang Zheng laughed and said, "What do you think?" Of course, he was using the swallowing the sky technique to absorb Song Jian'an's power. This was the first time he used this function of the swallowing the sky technique in actual combat. When he felt the surging power coming from his palm, he felt that everything was so wonderful. The swallowing the sky technique is indeed extraordinary. Humph! Song Jian'an, you old man. Don't think that just because your cultivation is high, I can't deal with you. Tang Zheng was secretly pleased. "Let me go!" Song Jian'an roared with a heart-wrenching voice. His power flowed out of his body like a flood. How could he panic? This was something he had never heard of or seen before. It actually made him feel a sense of dread. His power was everything to him. If he lost his power, then he was worthless. The Song family would also be annihilated in an instant. The others did not know what was going on. They only looked at the two people's palms. There was no shocking aura, nor was there a dazzling fight. It was so simple and calm. However, it made Song Jian'an feel as if his liver and guts were about to burst. Yi Xuanji's expression was complicated. He could not hide the horror in his eyes. Although he had lost to Tang Zheng, he did not expect that Tang Zheng would have such a strange skill that made Song Jian'an so scared and flustered. Song Yu's face had already turned from red from excitement to deathly pale. The matter of victory that was within his grasp had actually become turbulent again, which was something he had never expected. Yi Dingdong's eyes were filled with splendor as she stared straight at Tang Zheng. The corner of her mouth couldn't help but reveal a smile. This was the big hero she liked. No matter how strong the other party was, she dared to challenge them and was good at creating miracles. Everything in front of her was a miracle. Tang Zheng crazily operated the swallowing the sky technique, and his power quickly flowed into Song Jian'an's body. Song Jian'an's face was already pale. He finally understood the danger he was facing. Tang Zhang was absorbing his power. Although he did not know what method he used, he succeeded. Suddenly, Song Jianan took a deep breath and his eyes almost popped out. This was because he felt that his cultivation had dropped by a level, from the 4th level of the Supreme Power Realm to the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm. The 4th level of the Supreme Power Realm was the accumulation of his hard work. He had just broken through recently, but he was demoted just like that. All his hard work was in vain. This kind of feeling was really unpleasant. What made him even more fearful was that this was not the end. If this continued, he dared to conclude that his cultivation would be reduced to nothing. What are you doing? Hurry up and help me. Song Jianan shouted at the top of his lungs. Song Yu seemed to have woken up from a dream. A fierce look flashed in her eyes and she rushed over. Tang Zhang braced himself and prepared to deal with Song Yu's attack. Unexpectedly, Song Yu did not attack him at all. Instead, she swept past him and attacked Yi Dingdang. Yi Dingdang thrust her sword forward. The tip of her sword was extremely sharp, but it did not force Song Yu back. He was like an incomparably ferocious lion, and in his hand, a cold glint of light appeared as he clashed with Qing Feng's sword. Yi Dingdang knew Song Yu very well. Seeing him so fierce, she could not help but be shocked. How did you become so powerful? In the past, Song Yu needed others to protect him. But now, with the strength he had shown, he definitely did not need ordinary people to protect him. His strength was far beyond other people's expectations. Song Yu sneered proudly. The long sword in her hand quickly attacked Yi Dingdang and she said, "It's too late for you to realize it now." Although he did not want to destroy the flower, the situation had already developed beyond his control. He could no longer hide. Although Yi Dingdang had Qing Feng sword and chasing wind sword technique, Song Yu was not weak either. The long sword in her hand danced in an airtight manner. Her power was definitely not weak. Her cultivation was not weaker than Yi Dingdang. Especially her sword technique, it was very powerful and had extraordinary power. What sword technique is that? Yi Dingdang cried out in surprise. Song Yu coldly snorted and said, "You finally know how powerful I am. You dare to gang up and attack my grandfather. Don't think you will have an easy time." Shwa shwa shwa. Sword light filled the sky. Yi Dingdang was actually enveloped by the sword light. She was in danger. Seeing this, Tang Zhang impatiently shouted, "Song Yu, you hid your strength so deeply." Although he knew that Song Yu's cultivation was not weak, he did not expect her to be so powerful. She was even able to hide from his eyes. This was definitely not an ordinary matter. He had to admit that he had underestimated Song Yu. Chapter 781. The speed at which Tang Zhang absorbed the power was very fast. Song Jianan's cultivation dropped by another level, to the 2nd level of the Supreme Power Realm. His face had already turned pale. This kind of blow almost made him collapse. He couldn't help but roar, "Tang Zheng, what kind of demonic technique are you using? How can you absorb my power?" The others only saw that the two of them were in a stalemate, but they didn't know that Tang Zheng was absorbing Song Jianan's power. When they heard these words, they were all shocked. Tang Zheng felt that the surging power in his meridians was gathering in his dantian. It was completely absorbed by the golden core, and then it was continuously converted into genuine qi. He felt that his cultivation was soaring rapidly. Suddenly, a terrifying light burst out from his eyes, which was breathtaking. 3rd level of the golden core. Tang Zheng exclaimed secretly. This was really a rocket-like speed. He had actually improved his cultivation so easily. This sky-swallowing technique was indeed extraordinary. It could absorb the enemy's power and immediately convert it into his own cultivation. No wonder some people would be immersed in this feeling and blindly use the sky-swallowing technique to improve their cultivation, forgetting to cultivate hard. Because this was really too tempting. Even he couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. Song Jianan also noticed the change in Tang Zheng's momentum. It was obvious that his strength had increased a lot. He became more and more shocked, and cold sweat broke out on his head. As smart as he was, of course, he understood that Tang Zheng must have absorbed his power and turned it into his own. He had never heard of this kind of divine skill. He couldn't help but feel that his liver and guts were about to burst. He shouted, hurry up." Song Yu's attack power had increased greatly. Yi Dingdang was overwhelmed by the dazzling sword technique. Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang had been hit by Song Jian'an's two palms and had lost their resistance. It was impossible for them to help Yi Dingdang. Yi Xuanji's expression changed. He hadn't lost his fighting strength, but he could only watch his granddaughter in danger. Song Yu's sword technique was very gaudy, but within the gaudy was an extremely sharp sword move that had a very strong bewildering effect. If an ordinary sword technique was too flashy, its attacking power would naturally be greatly reduced. However, this sword technique was different. It was unknown what kind of genius the creator of this sword technique was, to actually hide so many killing moves within the flashy sword technique, causing people to be unable to guard against them. It was another series of dazzling attacks. Yi Dingdang was at the center of the sword light. She brandished the clear wind sword to resist. However, most of Song Yu's sword moves were feints. She had no choice but to use her sword to block them, which consumed a lot of energy. Suddenly, Yi Dingdang blocked another feint. A beam of sword light suddenly shot up from below, but she had no time to block it. If she was hit, her stomach would definitely be cut open. This was a real killing move. No! Tang Zhang had been silently paying attention to the battle situation. Seeing this dangerous situation, he could no longer bear it and gave up on Song Jianan. His figure flashed and blocked in front of Yi Dingdang. Puff! The long sword cut open his clothes, leaving a long sword mark on his chest. Blood flowed out. Tang Zhang frowned, but he did not retreat. Behind him was Yi Dingdang. He had no way to retreat, so he quickly reached out and grabbed the sharp long sword. Song Yu felt as if the long sword was caught in a vice. He could not move an inch. Seeing the murderous intent in Tang Zheng's eyes, he was shocked. Ka! The long sword was broken into two, and Tang Zhang held onto one of the short swords, directly thrusting it toward Song Yu. Song Yu tilted his head to the back. Although he managed to avoid being hit in the vitals, his face still blossomed with blood. That handsome face of his was slashed open with a 10 centimeters long wound. Song Yu grimaced and quickly retreated. Song Jianan broke free, the soles of his feet were oiled. He shouted, "You run! Run!" This was the only thought left in Song Yu's mind. He also knew that Tang Zhang was not a match for him. Even the old man had suffered a loss. The opponent was ridiculously strong. The grandfather and grandson were like stray dogs. They no longer had the arrogance from before. They flew out of the hall. Tang Zheng's anger had not subsided. He roared, "You want to run? Watch this sword." His palms sucked in the air and the War Soul sword returned to his hand. Then with a sharp sound, the War Soul sword flew out of his hand and flew toward Song Yu. Puff! The War Soul sword pierced through Song Yu's back. Song Yu staggered and almost fell to the ground. Luckily, Song Jianan lifted him up. With a leap, he jumped onto the roof and escaped without a trace. The War Soul sword flew back. There were still traces of Song Yu's blood on the sword. Tang Zhang was not sure if the sword had killed Song Yu, but even if he did not die, he would lose a layer of skin. "How are you?" Yi Dingdang impatiently rushed in front of Tang Zhang. She saw that his chest was dyed red with blood. She could not see the wound clearly, but it was extremely sinister and terrifying. Her face immediately turned pale. She panicked and said, "Don't scare me. How are you?" At the critical moment, her feelings for Tang Zhang were revealed. Tang Zhang smiled. It was very bright, like a child. "You can still smile." Yi Dingdang snappily scolded. Tang Zhang heartlessly smiled and said, "You still care about me." Yi Dingdang's cheeks turned red. She rolled her eyes at him and pretended to be calm as she said, "Who cares about you? Don't think too much. Humph, seeing that you can smile, you must be fine." With that, she ran to the side. Her heart was beating like a deer. She took a few deep breaths to stabilize her emotions. "Dad, Feng Xinyang, how are you too?" When Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang saw that the enemy had been defeated, they finally breathed a sigh of relief. They forced themselves to stand up and shook their heads. "We're fine. It's good that you're fine." With that said, they looked at Tang Zhang with a complicated expression. All sorts of feelings welled up in their hearts. It was as if they had 1,000 words to say, but they did not know where to start. No one expected things to turn out like this. The Song family was crazy. They actually dared to lay their hands on Yi Dingdang. Their daughter was their precious treasure, their lifeblood. If they dared to lay their hands on Yi Dingdang, then they dared to fight with their lives on the line. The Song family's actions completely shattered the last trace of good feelings in their hearts. Now, no matter who wanted to matchmake Yi Dingdang and Song Yu, unless they stepped over their dead bodies, they could forget about succeeding. Tang Zheng glanced at the two of them. From their expressions, he already got the answer he wanted. This marriage was completely ruined by him. He smiled brilliantly again. Father, it seems that we are not suitable to stay in this house, so we will immediately move out of this house. Yi Tianlei said resolutely to Yi Xuanji, who had been standing by the side and watching silently. Yi Xuanji's performance had disappointed them. Facing an external enemy, he did not care at all, as if their life and death had nothing to do with him. Yi Tianlei was truly angry. As a husband and father, if he continued to compromise and stay in this family, then he would look down on himself. He couldn't help but feel fortunate that he had made the right choice in leaving this family back then. Otherwise, who knew what kind of person he would have become? If he became like Yi Xuanji, then he would be extremely terrifying. And Yi Dingdang was also very likely to become like Yi Meiyu. Just thinking about it made him shudder. Leaving the Ye family once again, he did not hesitate. Instead, it was a form of relief. Perhaps he did not belong to this big family after all. Although his surname was Yi, the blood flowing in his body was already very different from the Ye family. Yi Tianlei looked at Yi Tianlei with a complicated expression. Hearing his resolute words, he did not object. He understood Yi Tianlei and knew that he had already made up his mind to leave. Of course, this was not the only reason why he did not urge him to stay. Another reason was the most important one, and that was because when he saw Tang Jing fighting just now, he had already thought about a lot of things. If he helped Yi Dingdang, then the Ye family would completely break off from the Song family, and it would be difficult to repair this rift. The Song family was powerful, and this was something that he did not want to see. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, he would definitely not completely break off from the Song family, and would also not help Yi Dingdang. Furthermore, Tang Zheng was too powerful. If he broke off from the Song family, and then repaired his relationship with Tang Zheng, or even used Yi Dingdang to marry him, he would definitely be able to gain Tang Zheng's good impression. But in this way, Tang Zheng would have one foot in the Ye family. With the speed at which Tang Zheng's strength soared, in a few years, no one in the Ye family would be able to suppress him. He would then be able to take everything from the Ye family for himself. The Ye family would no longer be surnamed Yi, but Tang. This was the scene that Yi Xuanji did not want to see the most. If this really happened, he would feel ashamed to face the ancestors of the Ye family, and would not have the face to see them in the afterlife. With all these factors mixed together, Yi Xuanji decided to stand by and do nothing, causing Yi Tianlei's family of three to be completely disappointed. Yi Xuanji did not try to keep Yi Tianlei from leaving the family, because after they left, Tang Zheng would no longer have a legitimate reason to enter the Ye family. The Ye family would really be safe. In the future, he would pass the Ye family to another son, and then the Ye family would still be surnamed Yi. His wishful thinking was very good, and ordinary people would not be able to guess what he was thinking. However, no one guessed, because Yi Xuanji's actions were already chilling, and no one was bothered to guess. Tang Zheng was the happiest about the three of them leaving the Ye family. After leaving Yi Xuanji, no one could interfere with Yi Dingdang's freedom. This was definitely a good thing for him and Yi Dingdang. Moreover, Yi Dingdang's concern just now seemed to have activated the feelings in his heart. She still cared about him and liked him, but she deliberately put on a straight face. It was enough to confirm this point. He secretly sized up Yi Dingdang, only to discover that she was also looking at him from the corner of her eyes. When she saw his eyes, she felt as if she had been electrocuted and hurriedly retracted her gaze as if nothing had happened. Tang Zheng couldn't help but laugh involuntarily. "Uncle Yi, let me help you." Seeing that Yi Tianlei could not move, Tang Zheng quickly offered his help and helped Yi Tianlei. Yi Tianlei looked at him with relief, nodded, and did not refuse. Yi Dingdang bit her lips, and the expression in her eyes kept changing. She also helped Feng Xinyang. Chapter 782. After leaving the Ye family, the three of them first found a hotel to stay in. Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang both needed time to heal their wounds. Tang Zhang accompanied them the entire time and carefully took care of them while Yi Dingdang remained silent. After checking in, the three of them arrived at the luxurious suite. Yi Tianlei said with a face full of guilt, "Tang Zhang, thank you for helping us regardless of the past." Feng Xinyang also said, "Little handsome brother, only you truly care about our Dingdang." Yi Dingdang immediately lowered her head as her ears turned red. Tang Zhang faintly smiled. "This is what I should do. When I was in ordinary balance, you all helped me so much. We didn't help you even 1/10 of what you did for us. Are your wounds serious?" Feng Xinyang stared at his chest. He had already changed his clothes, but she could still see the blood on his collar. Tang Zhang moved his muscles and said, "Do I look like I'm in trouble?" Along the way, he had already used his qi to heal his wounds. Not only had the blood stopped flowing, but his wounds had also mostly healed under the effects of his qi. As his qi increased, the healing effects of his qi became more obvious. "You should go take a shower first and wash off the blood. Otherwise, you won't feel good," Feng Xinyang suggested. "That's fine too. You all should rest first." Tang Zhang entered a bathroom and closed the door, blocking out the sound of running water. The Ye family of three sat in the living room and fell into silence for a while. In the end, Feng Xinyang took the lead and said, "Dingdang, raise your head. There is no gold on the ground. Tell me the truth. What are you and little handsome brother going to do?" Yi Dingdang bit her lips as she couldn't help but recall the scene of Tang Zhang blocking the sword for her. The emotions in her heart were indescribable, but in that instant, she thought of the matter between him and other girls and her mood fell to the bottom as she hesitantly said, "I don't know." "If you don't know, then who knows?" Feng Xinyang asked back. "Then what do you want me to do? Do you like little handsome brother? Tell me the truth." "I like him." "Then that's it. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that he also likes you. Both of you are in love with each other. Isn't this good? Do you know how many people dream about this?" Yi Dingdang was silent. "Say it." Feng Xinyang was anxious. "But he still has other women in his heart." Yi Dingdang was forced into a corner and blurted out, "Ah." Feng Xinyang and Yi Tianlei looked at each other and fell into silence. Yi Tianlei faintly sighed and said, "Tang Zheng is good at everything, but he is fickle in love." Feng Xinyang rolled her eyes at him and said, "Isn't this a common problem for you men? Fickle radish." Yi Tianlei suffered an unexpected calamity and innocently defended himself, "I'm not fickle in love." "You want to?" "No, definitely not." Yi Tianlei shook his head in denial. Feng Xinyang directly ignored him and said to Yi Dingdang, "Daughter, although little handsome brother has this problem, he is very outstanding in other aspects. He is also very good to you. Just now, he blocked the sword for you without any hesitation. Can other men do this?" Yi Dingdang was speechless. Of course she knew the answer. It was extremely difficult for other men to do this. Since you both have each other in your hearts, but he has this problem, then what are you going to do? Feng Xinyang asked. Yi Dingdang grabbed her hair in distress and buried her head in her knees. She muttered in confusion, "I don't know either." She really didn't know. Originally, she had made up her mind to cut all ties with Tang Zheng and completely disappear from his life. That was why she used Song Yu as a shield at school. But this time, Tang Zheng's actions completely disrupted her decision. From the time he rushed in to propose marriage without any hesitation, to the point of fighting, to the time he sacrificed himself to save her, every bit of it caused Yi Dingdong's heart to surge. Even if her heart was made of stone, it would still be melted by this action. Moreover, deep down in her heart, she had always liked him. But she had never been able to convince herself to cross the hurdle in her heart. That was why she was so conflicted. She often thought that if she had known him earlier and fallen in love with him earlier, then perhaps there wouldn't be so many problems and they could fly away together. But when she thought about how outstanding Tang Zhang was and how other girls couldn't help but be attracted to him, she felt that even if that was the case, things might not go as she wished. Tang Zhang was like the brightest light, destined to attract many moths to the flame. Annoying, annoying, annoying. In short, she couldn't find the answer. Seeing her daughter so distressed, Feng Xinyang patted her shoulder and said, "Since you can't find the answer for now, then let nature take its course. Don't treat this little handsome guy as a life and death enemy. Slowly get to know him better and maybe you'll get to know him better." AI, that's the only way. Yi Tianlei sighed. Although he felt that this would make his daughter suffer, if they separated, it would be even more painful and a big mistake. Yi Dingdang raised her head and said blankly, "Really? Why don't you give yourself a chance and give him a chance? Who can say for sure what will happen in the future?" Feng Xinyang shrugged. "Listen to your mother. I have a few more decades of experience than you. There's nothing wrong with that." Yi Dingdang hesitated for a moment, then pouted and compromised. "All right then." Creak. The door opened and Tang Zhang came out in clean clothes, saying, "You guys need to rest too. I'll take my leave after I'm done talking about something." Seeing him so serious, the three people's attention was drawn to him. "Actually, I went to the Ye family today to tell you guys about this matter. I was delayed just now." Tang Zhang continued, "You should all know about the demon race, right?" The three people nodded. The demon race was a branch of the cultivators. Moreover, there was the matter of the demon god descending. They had more or less heard some rumors. A few hundred years ago, the cultivators were banished to the sky beyond heaven, but now the demon race has returned to this world. They are still in the island nation and no one knows when they will sneak back to Wuxia. The demon race has returned? The three people sucked in a breath of cold air. They had seen Tang Zheng's growth and strength. They had a more comprehensive and profound understanding of cultivators and understood the power of cultivators. Hearing that the demon race had returned, they were naturally shocked. Tang Zhang nodded heavily. "Yes, and it's not just one or two. It's estimated that the demon race's army has returned. Although the government already has a plan to deal with it, there will definitely be fish that slip through the net. If they set foot on this land, it won't just be a few people who will suffer, but everyone will be in danger. Perhaps, the few great families will be the first to be affected." The return of the demon race would definitely be a big move. The few great families were like meat on the chopping board, and they were the fattest meat. The demon race would naturally choose to attack them. If they didn't take countermeasures as soon as possible, the few great families might be annihilated. Yi Tianlei naturally thought of this point and blurted out, "We must tell this news to father." Before he finished, he stopped. He had already left the Ye family and was no longer a member of the Ye family. Tang Zhang was very dissatisfied with Yi Xuanji and said, "Uncle Yi, I'm telling you this news because I don't want too many people to know about it. Do you understand?" Yi Tianlei wasn't an idiot and immediately understood Tang Zheng's thoughts. Whether the Ye family was destroyed or not was insignificant to Tang Zheng. Perhaps he was even happy to see it happen. Yi Tianlei secretly leaking information. Tang Zheng wouldn't approve of it. Although Yi Tianlei felt regretful, he didn't refute. He nodded and said, "All right, I'll listen to you. We'll keep this news in our stomachs." Feng Xinyang's feelings for the Ye family had long been exhausted. She was very satisfied with her husband's attitude and nodded approvingly. She asked, "Little handsome brother, then what should we do to deal with it?" "Try to raise your cultivation as much as possible and let your strength reach the peak," Tang Xing emphasized. "All right, we'll listen to you. During this time, our priority is to cultivate. After leaving the Ye family, we have nothing else to do." Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang nodded in agreement. "If there's any news, I'll inform you immediately. Also, if there's anything you need, you can contact me. I'll do my best. Also, if anyone comes to cause trouble for you, you must inform me immediately." Feng Xinyang's heart skipped a beat and asked, "You're worried about the Song family?" Tang Zheng sneered, "I've absorbed a lot of Song Jianan's power and he can't even protect himself. If he still dares to stir up trouble, then he's seeking death. However, even if he doesn't stir up trouble, I won't let them go." These words contained a strong murderous aura, which made people feel very uneasy. Yi Tianlei quickly asked, "You want to chase after the Song family?" "Of course, I've been too kind to the Song family. They've gone against me time and time again. They're really old enemies. At the Martial Arts Society convention, Song Yu once drugged me, causing me to almost die in the ring. If it weren't for my luck, I might have been killed by them." Tang Zhang gnashed his teeth in hatred. The old and new hatred added together was too much to count. "You're saying that Song Yu did something at the Martial Arts Society convention?" They still remembered Tang Zheng's situation in the ring. He was surrounded by danger. If he was careless, He might have died in the ring. The Song family actually used such a despicable method of drugging. It was really despicable. Feng Xinyang was indignant. I've long disliked the Song family. I didn't expect them to be such bad people. Little Handsome. Fortunately you came in time. Otherwise, the Song family's wishes would have been fulfilled. Tang Zheng smiled faintly. It's not that I don't want to take revenge. It's just that the time hasn't come. Now that the time has come, I'll carefully settle the old and new grudges with them. Then what are you going to do? After all, the Song family's mansion is a place that the Song family has operated for many years. It's definitely an impregnable fortress. It's not an easy bone to chew. Yi Tianlei sighed. I haven't thought of the specific method yet, but it's necessary to take advantage of the situation. So, I'm going to act according to the circumstances when I reach the Song family. In short, the monk can run away, but the temple can't. This time, I must deal with the Song family ruthlessly and leave them an unforgettable impression. We'll help you. Feng Xinyang blurted out. Tang Zheng smiled and shook his head in refusal. He said goodbye and left. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.